Good morning. Now we're chatting. Now we're talking, Rob. How's everyone doing this morning? Good morning, Steve. Good to see you. Morgan, Red Rob, hey, hey. Nice to have you guys in here today. Hey, good morning, Hamid. How's everyone doing? Whew. Did you see that market jump at 8:30 a.m., guys? Crazy. It was like boom, pow, zing, that news hit. That was pretty cool. Pulled that ES right out of a little stuck. Can you guys hear me? Give me a Y if you can hear me. Sound check. Morgan can hear me. Nobody else can hear me, I guess. Nope, Steve's got me. Spice has me. If Red Rob has me, then the world is perfect. Help me out, guys. Give me a Y if you've got me. More than 3 of you. If not, then I got to reboot. I can try rebooting. All right. So most of you guys are good? Rob, it was a fast 500. I like it. Show me the picture. Annotate it. Talk about it. Let's make sure you can repeat it. I know you like to talk about the money. Let's talk about the process, right? Show me how you made that 500. Let's see if there's a way to do that every day. That's the goal, guys. That is the goal. I'm going to keep flapping my gums since most of you guys seem to be able to hear me. Guys, every morning I check news. Every morning I come in and I make sure that there's not some craziness that may happen. Today is Wednesday the 14th. And at 8:30 a.m. there was all sorts of CPI news. And if you were watching the market, guys, it rocketed. Untradeable for a minute or two. Today at 10:30 a.m. we're going to have crude oil inventories. So even though it's a low impact news, guys, crude oil inventories, it's the release of reserves. And there are crude oil traders that are waiting. There are deep pockets, crude oil traders that are waiting for this release to make a decision. And as a crude oil trader, fortunately, I'm teaching the class during the middle of it, but for you guys that trade crude oil, it's great to know when that is and possibly avoid trying to trade when that nastiness happens. So every morning I'm checking forexfactory.com, guys, and I'm going through and I'm checking news. And then same thing I said yesterday, same thing I'll say tomorrow, guys. Everything that I talk about is coming straight from the Nexgen page. I have zero desire to hold anything back from you. I have absolutely no agenda to charge you for more information. My goal is to give you everything that you need to be successful with this software. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to give it to you today. You will have every tool that you need to be successful, consistent, profitable. The only thing that I'm unable to hand off to you guys is experience. That's it. I can't give you repetition. I can't make you study. I can't force you to participate, but I'm going to give you everything that you need. And while most people believe they need everything, I need more charts, I need more indicators, I need more everything. Guys, it's just not true. Simplicity is the fastest route to success. Keeping it very, very basic is the quickest way to get to where you want to be. So every morning, without fail, I focus nearly an entire hour, sometimes more than an entire hour, on a high probability trend trade. I focus on this one trade where each indicator on every chart agrees with the rules for the trade. This is a trade where the triggers are the absolute strongest, where there's no termination conditions, and there's no trouble spots between your entry and your target, guys. And this is the trade that typically wins 70 to 80% of the time, guys. This is your foundation trade. This is not your only trade. This is your first trade. Because this is the trade that's going to turn you into a chart reader. And that's my goal for you, is that you become a chart reader. Because chart reading is what it's all about, guys. Looking at your charts and understanding whether or not you have the advantages that you need to enter a trade. In this highest probability trend trade, it teaches you to be able to look at a large chart, a small chart, to recognize these things instantly. And what you'll find is that about 90% of your day, is spent waiting. 90% of your day is sitting on your hands. 90% of your day is not actively trading. 90% of your day is doodling pictures on a piece of paper, playing solitaire, playing with the dog, waiting for your advantages to come together. And then when they do, that's when you're going to pull the trigger, and that's when you strike. And the key is that you learn this trade so well, that you understand the concepts, that you don't miss it when it does happen, that you don't forfeit that 10% through uncertainty. So guys, when you're a chart reader, and this is really the whole focus, is you're going to understand where the market is likely to continue. Initially, this is going to be your entry for the highest probability trend trade. It's just a bounce point where the market is most likely to continue with the already existing trend. You will eventually understand how to determine where the market is likely to go using Fibonacci, using momentum, and this is going to help you with your target picking. And then you're going to understand, guys, and this is the most important concept in my opinion, where the market is likely to stop. This is what we call a termination condition. And a termination condition can completely halt the forward progress of the market. It's like a brick wall. And you'll be able to understand not only where they are through Fibonacci, but you'll also understand how to recognize if they are in fact likely to stop that market. So we're going to focus on this high probability trend trade. It's only 3 rules. And this is so disappointing to you overthinkers. It's only 3 rules. Each rule is designed to have you recognizing an advantage, guys. Your first rule, strong trigger lines, is going to give you the advantage of momentum down here in yellow. Your second rule, no termination conditions, is going to give you room to your profit targets. We're going to call that the advantage of a clear path. And once you have momentum and a clear path, then the sky is limitless, guys. Once you understand momentum and a clear path, you're going to start seeing patterns and different ways to make money. But initially, your third rule are the entry rules for the highest probability trend trade, pinpointing exactly where the market is most likely to continue, using that for your entries, reducing your risk, maximizing your profit potential. These 3 rules that I go over every day happen on only 2 charts. That's all you need. And again, just simplicity. On the large chart, on the slow chart, you need to be looking at the first bar. That's it. The most current bar, the one that's got that black highlighted price next to it, guys. This one bar on this large chart will define the direction, the momentum, and the areas of the market. And your first 2 rules are met on the large chart, and it's a very slow, broad stroke of a brush, guys. Good morning, Trading Book. It's not a super fast moving chart. It's hard to see change on the large chart, which is why when the rules are met, we're going to go to the small chart. We're going to go to a faster chart. And this faster chart, inside of 1 bar on the large chart, there can be anywhere between 20 and 30 bars. Good morning, Tom. And this refinement process, like an x-ray of that 1 bar, is what's going to give you the accuracy as you pinpoint where the market is most likely to continue. And being able to recognize that spot through rule number 3, understanding where the market is likely to continue, is also going to help you with management. It's going to help you reduce risk. It's going to help you maximize your profit potential. And we use these 2 charts because of it's just a reflection of who's in control, guys, and who are you going to trade with. You're going to hear me say all day long, large chart leads the way. Let the large chart lead the way, guys. The large chart has more money than any of us. These are the fine men and women that work for institutions, and when they want the market to go up, the market goes up. And when they really want it to go up, it creates the momentum that we look for. And then when they reach one of those key Fibonacci areas, those lines that you guys are going to know about before they ever get there, they're going to make decisions, and they're either going to exit or enter or fight, and we just don't know. But we know that if we trade with the large crowd, it creates a huge advantage. And then there's a small crowd, right? There's got to always be an opposite. The small crowd has a lot of money, but the small crowd doesn't have the money that the large crowd has. And these guys love to fight. They're troublemakers. So when your large crowd says, we want it to go up, we're going to make it go up fast, there's this group of yahoos that create a little shove, a little retracement. They love to fight the large chart. But what happens is your small crowd typically fails about 70 to 80% of the time. They don't change the trend completely. They give just enough of a shove back for us to pinpoint exactly where they're most likely to fail. And this will become your entry for the highest probability trend trades. So guys, we're going to keep it super simple. 3 rules, 2 charts. We're going to learn the trigger line and the Fibonacci rules for when it's okay to trade. I'm going to break down each of those 3 rules. We're going to look at them like visually. We're going to go find them on a chart. We're going to talk about exactly what they mean to you. Hey, happy birthday, Joel. 66 years young. You're a pup. Guys, we're going to talk about how to identify them, what the advantages mean, and we're really just going to break it down simply. You guys simulate, practice, especially you new guys, right? Tom, man, don't be afraid to get on that simulator. Mess some stuff up, guys. Don't be afraid. Simulators like Monopoly. Nobody was ever fearful of losing their real estate empire in Monopoly, right? You go out, you take some chances, do it on simulator. But the goal is that we always work towards following rules, that we always work towards having a statistical advantage each and every time you take a trade. Because I'm going to tell you guys right now, the market doesn't care about you, but it does have a memory. Our rules are based on that memory. Our rules are based on these patterns that can be proven and verified and validated. And every time you follow the rules for the highest probability trend trade, you're just trading a pattern that's been proven to win more than it loses. So simulate, and then it goes to the first, how can you fix? What is it that's broken, GWC? Wow, they're overlapping. That's weird. So your bars are too fat. And guys, just a heads up, I'm not the tech guy, but sometimes I can help. Let's see, GWC. If I right click and I go to my indicators, actually, you know what? And I do Pro Trader. Let's see if we can find those Renko bars. Maybe that's not it. Let's check properties. GWC, you know I hate to admit that I'm not the tech guy. Fib line width, offsets, trend bands, display, miscellaneous, data series, setup, visual, price markers, scale justification, plots. Maybe it's over here. I'm trying, GWC. I really don't know the answer. I wish that I did. I bet you, GWC, if you asked that same question over in Traders Chat, somebody with a more technical background than me would probably be able to get you right where you want to be a lot faster than me fumbling. Data series, other Mark? Oh, I didn't even see that. So let's look at data series. Candlestick bar width. Man, you're a rock star, other Mark. There you go, GWC. Let me take that picture for you. Bar width from data series. Ah, thanks for that, Mark. Guys, I'm telling you, we're going to feed off each other all day, every day. We're going to get better and better. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Guys, there's a path to getting to where you want to be. There's a way to do it that is the least stressful. There's a way to do it that has the highest chance of success. There's a way to do it that is the quickest point between A and B. And it begins with posting your trades in the room. Post your pictures of every time you take a trade and tell me what you see. Like, talk about your chart read, because the goal is to become a chart reader. So tell me what you see and what you're thinking and what's going on. And every time you post in the room, what you're doing is you're opening yourself up for a private session with me. So it's important that you talk about the momentum on the chart because that's your first chart read. And it's important that you talk about whether or not you have a clear path because that's your second chart read. And then it's important that you talk about where you enter because that's the third and final read for the chart, the rules, making sure that you're good. And one thing that I've realized, and I realized this again this morning and it was pretty cool, is that I can talk about the rules every day. And there's something about the human brain, you're going to hear what you want to hear. And you're going to create your own reality of what these rules mean. And I see it every day. Things that I say every day, people come back to me and they're like, oh my gosh, how come you've never said that before? And I'm like, well, I've said it every day, Morgan, where the hell you been? But what happens is we create our own reality of what it means to have momentum. When we create our own reality of what a clear path is, and if you post in the room, we can make sure that your perception is in line with Nexgen's reality, what the indicators are actually telling you. So I encourage you guys, post a lot and give me the information that I need to give you the absolute best feedback. We're going to simplify today. We're going to talk about this high probability trend trade. We're really just going to beat it to death for a while and make sure that you guys can understand the individual pieces so that you can create a trade. You have to know what looks you're going to commit to, and that's kind of the second thing on your path. The spreadsheet. Nexgen gives it to you. I give you mine every day. Hey, good morning, Zorro. I love Zorro's in with a yes. He doesn't even know what the question is. He's like, you better believe it. Guys, this is my spreadsheet. I just dropped it in the room. You can download it, drag it over to your desktop. But there's 4 tabs. The first tab is trade tracking. So every time you take a trade, just drop it in there. There's the instructions on how to paste your trades in to create a hyperlink. There's a reminder of how to annotate your charts to get really good at this stuff fast. And then what you're doing is you're filling this out every morning, every time you pull the trigger. But it's not what you're doing today that's really going to pay the results, guys. The annotations are key. It really helps with the memory. But coming back to the trades that you took yesterday, looking at them and asking yourself what worked and what didn't work, guys. This is how trading plans are built because you start recognizing the things that are bringing you success and you also start recognizing the things that might be pulling that success away from you. And that's one of the things that posting in the room is going to do for you as well because I need about 5 pictures from you annotated to know exactly where you struggle. And then we start working together to fix that struggle. And it's weird, it's uncanny, and it annoys my wife, but that's really what I'm good at, is recognizing patterns in people and teaching people patterns on a chart. So use the spreadsheet, guys. Don't just take the pictures. Go back and look at them. There's the second tab. Let me slide that over. These are pictures of rule number 1 being met. That's it. It's not the trade. It's not the management. It's not a win. It's not a loss. It's nothing more than those strong triggers that give the advantage of momentum. There's the picture of what it means to not have a termination condition. And then there's the picture of what it looks like to enter. And guys, this green section are the individual pieces that you'll put together for a trade. The red section is what it looks like when your rules are not met. And I think this is such a key part. Is not only knowing what it means to have the advantage, but knowing what it looks like when that advantage goes away. So this 101 section, I'm going to give you a cool little handout that's going to help you study, become a chart reader faster. Fill it up. I mean, fill it up to 1,000, but 25 is the first goal. The favorite looks is just where you're going to put the trades that you love, the patterns that you see, and you're going to build your trading plan on this tab. And you should make your favorite looks tab look like this one that I put together, guys. This is the client trades. Almost 400 pictures of momentum, clear paths, perfect entries. And the whole key to what we do is creating recognition through repetition, through seeing the same thing so many times that we can't help but catch it when it's happening live. And I'm going to tell you from my own experience that the greatest progress that you'll ever make and on your journey to becoming a chart reader isn't from the trades that you take, guys, because when you're taking trades, you're full of adrenaline. When you're taking trades, initially there's fear, there's anxiety, there's greed. So if you get in the habit of scrolling back, of studying these looks historically, of finding the individual pieces, what happens is you've got this awesome foundation. And when you get to the live market and you start taking these trades, you're like, man, I've seen this 100 times. I know exactly what this look means to me. I'm going to take this trade. So you've got to learn the looks so that they become easy. That's one of the most important things, guys. And that's where pictures come in. I firmly believe that you should take no less than 15 pictures a day. No less than 15 pictures a day. Guys, I'm probably already up to 20 pictures today. I take pictures every day. And if you go to my library, there's almost 3,900 pictures. But as I scroll down, like this is all this week. All of this is this week. And it's not only pictures from this classroom, but it's pictures from my own trades, from my own study, my own annotations as I start going through and recognizing patterns. Guys, if you take 15 pictures a day, that's 300 pictures a month. It's hard to not get good at something with that level of repetition. So let's get moving. Let's take a look at that high probability trend trade. Let's break it down. Rule number 1, large chart must have strong trigger lines, guys. And you know what? Before we get too far into this, let me do this. I'm going to give you a map of what it is that we're looking at. This is for my new users. There's 2 things that we're going to use, guys. We're going to use trigger lines, and these are nothing more than moving averages. And there's 2 pieces to the trigger lines, or 2 types of trigger lines. There are small triggers, which are solid lines. These are fast. Large triggers, which are dash line. These are slow. And they work together to create the identity of momentum. So if they're red, they're down. If they're green, they're up. The same is true of your trend. If the background is red, the trend is down. If the background is green, the trend is up on your large chart. The other thing that we're going to use, and I'll just go ahead and give it to you now, is areas. We're going to use areas to identify problems. We're going to use areas to identify entries. So guys, these are just roadmaps. These have nothing to do with the rules, but just a little recognition as you're new to the software, as you're like, man, what the heck am I looking at? This is what you're looking at. But we're going to start with trigger lines. And we're going to insist that on the large chart, the trigger lines are strong. So what does that mean to us? If the background is green, if the trend is up, the large crowd wants it to go up, guys. So we're going to look for strength, momentum in that trend. When the small triggers, the solid lines, break above and away from the large triggers, the dash lines, when both are green, just like the background, they're wide, they're angled in the direction of the trend. Guys, I want you to look at my little cursor here. They look like scissors, open, ready to cut. This look, this separation between small and large, lets me know that the odds are favorable for the market to continue up. So in a downtrend, when the smalls are below the large, when the scissors are open, the space is created, the odds are favorable for the market to continue down. And you're going to hear me say odds favorable momentum all day long. You're going to hear it in your sleep for the first couple weeks. But odds favorable momentum, that strong trigger look, guys, that pushes the market in the direction of the trend. Odds favorable momentum can break key areas on that large chart. And odds favorable momentum, this is my favorite part about it, guys, it'll cover some of the mistakes that we make as new users because it's hard to stop a market that is screaming in the direction of the trend. So this is strength. And then when the small triggers return to the large triggers, when they work their way inside, when the scissors close, we call this a weakening of the large triggers. And when I have weak large triggers, anything can happen up or down. It becomes a crapshoot. And guys, I'm a big fan of language in the learning process. If you're saying to yourself, odds favorable, strong, you feel good about what you're getting into. But if you're saying words like weak, anything can happen, then you're telling yourself that the advantage is gone. You close your eyes, you see triggers, Z-Robot. When I was learning the software, guys, true story, I dreamt about trading every night for about 2 months because they say that your brain will dream about the things that it's unsure of. I want you guys to see this. This is beautiful. This is crude oil. Strong triggers. breaking areas, strong triggers, pushing the market. And then we end up with those weakened triggers, and that's where the reversal happens. And then the strength pushes the market up, and then those weakened triggers, and that's where the retracement begins. Can you guys give me a why, especially my new people? Let's take a picture together. Let's put one for the spreadsheet. What do you say? Gosh, this is the best picture. We're going to use it for everything. Let's identify strong triggers. And guys, this is how you're going to get to where you want to be. Draw an arrow and say smalls below large, space between. This is strong triggers, momentum, rule 1 met. Does anyone in this room believe that if they took this picture 25 times, they would ever miss out on strong triggers? They would ever make the mistake and say that this look is strength. But this look, we know for sure, small's inside of large. Weakness. Rule 1 not met. And guys, if you go through and you take these pictures, upload them, open up your spreadsheet, go to that 101 page. We'll drop it into the weakness. And now I have one more picture that I can look at with absolutely nothing going on to remind me what it looks like when my rules aren't met. And now I have one more picture with absolutely no anxiety or fear from a trade, reminding me exactly what strength looks like, what I'm looking for through rule number 1 in order to ever begin looking for rule number 2. Is everybody cool with that? That's rule number 1, guys. That's the shortest lesson you'll ever get. 99% of my students are freaking amazing at it on the first day because all it is a separation between the small and large. Odds favorable, anything can happen. We good? Don't be afraid to put a Y in the room, guys. Just want to remind you, I'm pretty good at this stuff. I need you guys to be good at it. That's my goal every day. Let me know that you don't have questions. Can I go through that again slower? Absolutely, I will. That's all I need, Tom. All I need is one person to say that. So there's a very distinct look when we talk about momentum. So now I get to change it up and say it a different way. This is my favorite thing to do. Let me go to this one right here. Oh, through the image saving process? Yeah, for sure. Let's do that. Let me open up my spreadsheet real quick. So once I upload a picture, and let me go through it full tilt. Let me open up my TechSmith capture, and let's do it start to finish, Tom. Because, you know, that's kind of what we need to do, right? So if you're using image capture, guys, this was downloaded on your computer when you got the software. Oh, no, let's make it easier for you. I tried that in the beginning, Tom, and I found that I never went to go look at them. So let me open up the my charts too, and we'll do it full blown. Let me get to NinjaTrader. Let me open up these two because there's an easy way to do it. When I take TechSmith capture, we'll do this. Yeah, Z-Robot. There's really, I don't have any rules that use a reversal bar, to be honest with you. Except for management. So when we get to management, that'll be the first time that I really reference it. But we'll talk about it for sure. So guys, capture software. I'm going to click this giant button. And if I hover over only one chart, it's just going to give me that one chart's worth of information. So what's important, because we're using two charts, is that I'm going to left click in the upper right hand corner. And I'm going to drag it down to the bottom right, guys. And I want to make sure that I get my timestamps. I want to make sure that I get my prices in there. Because remember, we're going to connect the large chart and the small chart to produce a trade. So when I release, it's going to give me the option to take a picture. So I'm going to pound on it. And there we go. I've got my picture. There's the tools on here, guys. This is how we're going to have a conversation. There's arrows, there's callouts, there's shapes, there's highlights. You can change the color if you're feeling creative. All of these are click and drag. So if I left click and drag down, this arrow is going to follow me all over the whole screen. So just aim it at whatever you need it to be at. The same is true with shapes. Click and drag, maybe I want to talk about that, or maybe I want to talk about that. And then finally the call out button, guys. Click and drag and create a text box. And this is how we have a conversation. This is how you tell me what you're seeing, what your chart read is. This is where you're going to talk about momentum, path, and entry. Every chart that you give me, you're going to talk about momentum, path, and entry, and we're going to get good at chart reading. Then once I do this, so Tom, two things you can do, guys. You can click copy, and it'll put this picture on my clipboard. And then once it does that, I can drop that picture into the room. My preferred method is that you click upload. And when you click upload, it's going to give you the screencast link. So click copy, it goes onto your clipboard. That's the one I'd love to see you guys dropping in the room to have the conversation. The screencast links tend to open up just with a little more clarity. And then once that's on my clipboard, what you're going to do, so let's say that that picture was a great picture of a trade or whatever. I'm going to come to the picture section on my spreadsheet, and I'm going to right click. Actually, I'm going to right click and I'm going to paste that link in there. So this is cool. This link works. It does, but there's an easier way and there's a cleaner way to do it because you have to hold down control and hit it. So Tom, we're not there yet. Go to insert and click on this link button. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to create a hyperlink. So I'm going to paste that in there again, and under text to display, I'm going to identify the picture. And then when I click enter, now I've got this cool, easy to follow link that's a one-click scenario. And the cool thing is, Tom, is after you do that 3 or 4 times, you'll be able to right-click on the chart instead of hitting paste. It's going to default you to that link button. And then just in case, there's the instructions right there. So that if you are trying to do it this afternoon and you have a total brain fart, you've got the instructions to go back to it. And then guys, if you ever need help with this stuff, I will absolutely just nail the brakes on education to make sure that you guys understand how to get the most out of education through pictures. You're welcome, Tom. So we have strong triggers, ladies and gentlemen. We have the advantage of momentum. Now we need to make sure that there's no termination conditions, that there's no areas on my large chart that may stop the market. None of those decision-making points. And guys, when we talk about areas is another way of saying lines. Lines on a large chart. Don't give one line more power than the other. Don't make one more important. Guys, they're just lines. And this is nothing more than a roadmap, so you know what the lines are, because you may hear them referenced in class. Hey, we reached a divergence high line, that pink line. We reached a divergence low, resistance, support, and one-to-ones. And what happens is that these lines are where the people, the large crowd, are making decisions, guys. And I'm telling you, it's uncanny how often these lines can stop the market. So since they're making decisions, and we don't want to be in the middle of their decision-making process, 2 things happen to identify these areas as termination conditions. The first thing, and write this down, please write this down if you're struggling with termination conditions. Price reaches the area. What does that mean? It means these dynamic Renko bars come in contact with Fibonacci resistance. They come in contact with a divergence high, with yellow one-to-ones. And what happens is once price gets to that area, gets to that line, the large crowd is either going to, they're going to make a decision. Maybe they're going to exit their position. Maybe the buyers are in control, but the large crowd sellers were waiting to enter there. And maybe they're going to fight, and maybe there's an untradeable bounce. And the reality is that I'm not sure. I don't know what the reaction's going to be. I don't know if it's going to break. I don't know if it's going to hold. I don't know if there's going to be a fight. I don't know if it's going to reverse the market. But the one thing that I can be absolutely sure of, ladies and gentlemen, is that when price reaches this line, if my trigger lines, small and large, remain below that area of resistance, then that area of resistance in the moment is a termination condition. And it is robbing me of my clear path. And guys, these termination conditions hold more than they don't. And then the sellers take over and they're screaming down with all that momentum. And then they reach Fibonacci support. And this could be one of those divergence low lines. This could be yellow 1-to-1s. This could be the blue fib. And when price reaches support, the only thing that I have to do is ask myself, where are my triggers? And if the trigger lines remain above support, ladies and gentlemen, you have a termination condition. Rule number 2 is not met. The path is not clear. No short trades into that line. No long trades into that line. So let's go once again, large chart. Divergence 1-to-1s. The triggers don't break and I'll be darned, there's a reversal. Fibonacci support, triggers don't break, look at the reversal. Sometimes they break with momentum. And then look at this, from resistance to 1-to-1s, to resistance, to resistance, to resistance, and then it goes. Guys, rule number 2 is going to keep you out of a lot of trouble. Resistance holds again. Support creates a bounce. Resistance creates a bounce. So once again, we're going to go back, and guys, we're going to do this a couple times today, and I want to make sure that I'm clear with the best way to study, the easiest way to get to where you want to be. So if you're not in tune with termination conditions, if you're just learning them, go back and take a picture. Draw an arrow to that specific spot, and then guys, the language is what's going to create the recognition. Price reached resistance. Triggers were below. This is a term. Rule 2 not met. No clear path. You've had Ninja crash hard 4 times this morning, Z-Robot. One thing you can do is get with Jason in tech and have him go through and make sure everything on your computer is cool. Sometimes what I'll do if I crash a lot, and it happens some days, I don't know why, is I'll literally kind of start fresh. Let me go to the software user guide. Are you computer savvy at all? Some people are, some people aren't. Cool. This will show you how to get rid of your workspaces, your templates, all that sort of stuff. And then you can go to the resource page and just rerun the indicators. And what it does is it makes sure that there's nothing corrupt in your workspaces. It takes me about 8 minutes to do. I did it this morning. Had the same cup of coffee start to finish. That's what I do. That's my go-to if I find myself having challenges. Absolutely. And then if they continue, of course, get with Jason, because there may be something hiding. Sorry that's happening to you. So guys, I ask you again, how many times do you suppose you could take this picture, annotate this chart? It may be and it may not be. I have a space shuttle launching computer here in my house, and I still crash every now and then. A great graphics card helps a lot. A fast processor helps a lot. But the reality is it's a Ninja Trader issue. And that's one of the reasons why my brother is working so hard to complete the browser version. And it shouldn't be long, guys. So I'm going to take this picture, guys. I'm going to share the link again. And I'm going to go to my 101 section. And under termination conditions, I'm going to drop another one in so that I never mess up and accidentally trade into one. Red Rob. And guys, that was my biggest challenge as a new user. I love to trade into termination conditions. So is everybody good with that? Can you give me a why? Price reaches a line on your large chart. If the triggers remain below resistance, above support, guys, it's totally cool to sit on your hands and do nothing for a minute. The futures markets trade in excess of $300 billion a day. We're trying to capture about 300 to 500 a contract, guys. That's it. So you don't have to be in every move. We're going to wait for the best moves. And the easiest trades happen in between areas. When these areas break, trading from areas. So if that's my termination, let's define the clear path. Price reached support, the triggers remained above, and everyone in this room, because you're so darn brilliant, said to themselves, you know what? No short trades yet. I'm going to sit on my hands. I'm going to wait a minute, and I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to see what the large crowd does. Well, guys, if they can push the small triggers and the large triggers to the other side of support, well, support begins to act as resistance. The area is now broken. And if they can get the small triggers and the large triggers above resistance, resistance behaves as support. The area is now broken. And guys, it has nothing to do with the colors of the fibs. It has everything to do with trigger location. I told you, triggers and lines are going to define most of your usage in the beginning. And once they both get below support, guys, the path is clear until you reach the next line. And the path is clear until you reach the next line. So, guys, is everybody cool? We got terminations. Smalls and large get below support, it becomes resistance. Maybe there's an opportunity. Smalls and large get below support, it becomes resistance. And guys, the easiest trades happen trading from areas, trading to the areas instead of into the areas that can stop it cold. And guys, we're going to look for opportunities like this when we've cleared the area and everything is screaming up, and you're going to find your best of the best trades, your easiest trades, your lowest stress trades. And once you're good at that, once you can say to yourself, all right, that's a termination, that's a clear path. And if you go by the language, it's going to make it pretty easy. It's going to open the door for the second trade that I teach. This is called a 50-50 trade. So a high probability trend trade means that each indicator on every chart agrees for the trade. A medium probability trade means that most of the indicators agree. However, a small issue exists. Guys, this is going to be your first identifiable small issue. And what it is when 50% of my trigger lines break through the area. I'm waiting for that clear path. But 50% haven't made it yet. There's like a little lag there. Guys, if I have odds favorable momentum and my trigger lines are straddling a line, this is a line that has the potential to break. But it's only potential, guys. It's not a broken area. It's not a clear path, which means that I don't have the clear path, right? Rule number 2 is not met. But guys, this is a trade that sets up a lot every day. This is a trade that I'm going to hand you a very solid plan to be able to have the best chance of success with. And what you'll find is that with this much momentum and the potential to break, there's a lot of opportunity in the market that happens beyond that high probability trend trade. This will be your first time to capture some of it, but you have to understand momentum, right? So it's imperative that you're comfortable with rule number 1 and that you're committed to it. You have to understand the difference between a termination and a clear path. And your second trade lies somewhere in between the two when those trigger lines are straddling. So you've got to speak to yourself in regards to, where are my trigger lines? Always, I've reached an area, where are my trigger lines? And that's what's going to set you up to be able to take this trade. And I'm going to say one more time, because I am a broken record, lines on the large chart, ladies and gentlemen, lines on the large chart can stop it cold. Lines on a large chart can just eradicate that forward progress. Lines on the large chart are where decisions are being made by the people that move the market. And it's important that you understand that. Price reaches resistance, the triggers are below. Guys, there's no long trades to be had right now. I don't have momentum. My trigger lines don't even match in color. I don't have a clear trade. Guys, this is part of that 90% right now in crude oil live. Does everybody see it? The momentum isn't there. The path isn't clear. And your brain's going to tell you, I think it's going up. It might go down. I want to take this trade. I want to take that trade. Guys, sit on your hands. But when it looks like this and the path is clear, it's time to go to your small chart. It's time to look at your small chart and look for an entry. But we're not done with terminations yet, guys. There is one termination condition on a small chart. One time when my small chart will tell me that rule number 2 isn't met. It's 3 divergences. in the same price range. Divergence is a fancy way of saying loss of momentum. That's all it is. Let me take a picture of a picture. Let's do some stuff. That's it. So guys, if price goes down and up, that's a pivot. That's all it is. Up, down, down, up. It's just a pivot, and you see it through the price bars. If momentum, what color should we use for momentum? We'll use white. If the momentum doesn't follow price, you're going to see this blue line from a low. If momentum doesn't follow price, you're going to see this pink line from a high. Divergence simply means a loss of momentum. That's all it is. Don't give it any more power than that. But if you see three divergences in the same price range, well, then that may terminate the trend, because three losses of momentum may terminate the trend. It becomes even more powerful if you take that rule number 1 lesson and you see those anything can happen triggers. And it becomes more powerful still if it creates a little head and shoulders pattern, if that final pivot is higher than the previous or lower than the previous from a high. And guys, this is the only time on a small chart where I will say, wait a minute, I don't have a clear path. This may reverse the market. This may create an untradeable bounce. In these three divergences, you see them on the small chart first, because the small chart is a fast chart, because the small chart is a refinement chart. So your large chart may have odds favorable momentum to the downside, and it may have a clear path. But if you see three divergences on your small chart when you go looking for entries, that's your red flag. Pump the brakes. Don't take the trade. You've lost the advantage. So guys, that's rule 2. We're what, 40 minutes in, and we've already talked about the two most important advantages, guys. The advantage of momentum, a market that's likely to continue in the direction of the trend. And we've talked about whether or not we have a clear path. And the advantage of having absolutely nothing in the way, none of those decision-making points where the large crowd reacts. And guys, when you've got it all, when the market says up because of the green background, when the market has momentum through rule number 1, when the market has a clear path through rule number 2, you're going to turn your attention to the small crowd, guys, and you're going to hope that the small crowd feels like fighting. You're going to hope that the small crowd can create a little push to get rule number 3 met. And what you're going to find is on your large chart, that slow chart, that one bar never changes, but it's almost like it grows a tail. That tail is the pullback right to your entry. We're about to pinpoint exactly where this tail is most likely to form, and we're going to do it through rule number 3, where we're going to use a limit order to buy or sell a pullback to an area inside of triggers. Favorable large triggers is what we're going to talk about today. Had some great lessons this morning with it too, so I'm pretty excited about this one. Why do we say favorable large triggers, guys? So large triggers are moving averages. That's all they are. They're just averages. And one of the math people tell me is that average is correct. As price accelerates away, it typically comes back to large triggers. That's it. As price accelerates away on a small chart, it comes back to the large triggers. And what happens is that this large trigger on a large chart is where I expect price to return to. And the large triggers on the small chart is where I expect price to return to. So let me go to some of the pictures that I took this morning. And I want you guys to see this. On the small chart, it keeps coming back to the large triggers. On the large chart, it keeps coming back to the large triggers. So what happens is Nexgen was nice enough to put your large triggers from the large chart over on your small chart. And guys, the rule says we're going to buy or sell a pullback. So I want you to see this. The momentum, everything says down. There's one of those tails. That tail happens right at resistance inside of favorable large triggers. The large and the synthetic are overlapping. My correction point has gone from 2 different points to only 1 point. What are the dots? Can you show me a picture, Tom? You're assuming I understand angles. This, that's a divergence low. That is a cyan line that prints off of a pivot when there's a loss of momentum. Great question. Tell me, so Tom, do me a favor. Take a picture of this slide right now and draw an arrow for me, or we're going to be here all morning guessing. Is it this one? Is it this one? Maybe I'll answer your question in just a second because I may have the answer coming up. Guys, we're going to call favorable large triggers when the correction points are one on top of the other. We're going to call it favorable large triggers when the large and the synthetic are overlapping, like two snakes riding piggyback. Why? Because there's only one spot where I expect those price bars to come back to. And then when I put areas inside of it, that's how I'm going to come up with this amazing entry. And I took another picture. When those areas begin to separate, when the large triggers on the small chart are all the way up here, the large triggers on the large chart are all the way down here, guys, I expect the large chart to come back to the large triggers. I expect the small chart to come back to the large triggers. I don't know. Is it going to stop here or is it going to go there? Do you see how there's a little bit of indecision? When these trigger lines are not overlapping, it could be either. And you have to accept that it could go to either one. But when they're one on top of the other, man, that's where good things happen. So these are your large triggers, Tom. Let's go back. Those lines, the smooth, these are the large triggers. These are native to, here we go. Here's your picture. I knew I'd have this. The smooth triggers are native to the 5-1 chart. These are the ones that you'll use to define momentum, that separation between small and large. These stepped triggers, these are your synthetic. These are the large triggers from the 13-2. These are the ones that are going to help you identify your entries. And when those two triggers overlap, you've got the least possible areas to put in areas, fibs, mid bands, yellow 1-to-1s, to find your entry. And guys, that's kind of what we're doing, is we're taking the correction points, overlapping them, and then we're going to use the areas inside to define the perfect entry, to define the highest probability entry. So rule number 3 is going to give you such precision that you're going to use a limit order. You're literally going to wait for the market to come back to you. And you're going to use that limit order at an area, at a fib, at a midband, or a yellow 1-to-1. Guys, they look the same as they do on the large chart. On the large chart, they're places where decisions are being made. On the small chart, those areas are going to represent the most likely point for a bounce, for the failure from the small crowd. And then the key is that you want those lines to be inside of triggers. And when I say inside of triggers, this is kind of an important concept. It could be, where are my pictures? It could be, where's that picture? I had one. There we go. It could be the large trigger. It could be the synthetic trigger. Do you notice that there's no lines inside of the synthetic trigger? That makes it a little easier. But when it could be either, and this is a key point, and this is one of the conversations I had this morning, it could come from a line inside of the synthetic. It could come from a line inside of the large. But if you insist that the two are overlapping, there's less room for the lines. Does that make sense, everybody? Because this is where precision comes in for the new user. Really embracing the idea that those large and synthetic, one on top of the other, creates your highest chance of success. It creates your highest level of accuracy, and it really provides the least amount of risk in the smallest area where the market is most likely to continue. So I encourage new users, commit to the favorable large triggers, and then eventually you'll know when to take chances outside of it. But when they're overlapping, the correction point's in the exact same spot, and it gives you the highest chance of success. So how do we do it? Guys, there's a cool way to do it. And it's a process. Everything is a process. So when I have momentum on the large chart and everything says up and the path is clear, I'm going to turn my attention to a small chart. And guys, honestly, the small chart's going to look like this. And you're going to start panicking that it's going without you. That fear of missing out is going to go full tilt, pounding in your chest. You're going to wait for the reversal bar, for this down bar. So, Z-Robot, I lied to you. Sorry, it wasn't intentional, I promise. The first reference of the reversal bar is when we're identifying our entries. So this reversal bar is the beginning of the fight from the small crowd. This reversal bar, this down bar after all of these up bars, says that the fight is on, and it signals the beginning of the pullback, guys. The reversal bar is not your entry. The reversal bar is nothing more than the white flag, the green flag saying, let's go, let's fight. So at the time of the reversal bar, I'm going to identify my triggers. Hopefully they're favorable, one on top of the other, like two snakes riding piggyback. Guys, the triggers are not my entry. Once I've identified my trigger lines, red box, I'm going to look for areas within. I'm going to look for Fibonacci support. I'm going to look for yellow 1-to-1s. I'm going to look for that green mid-band for a long trade. And I'm going to create what I call the window of opportunity, guys. And it's a window. It's a range. Your window of opportunity will extend from the highest point of support, in this case it's a mid-band, to the lowest point of support. It happens to be yellow 1-to-1s. And this shaded blue box represents the point where the market is most likely to continue. Are you guys following me so far? What we've done is we've patiently waited for the beginning of the pullback. We've found our trigger lines, and we're insisting on lines inside. And this blue box is where I expect the small crowd to fail. This blue box is where I expect that bounce to happen, guys. But because of the momentum and the clear path, you're going to activate a limit order right at the top of that window, and hope the small crowd gets you. And if they do, you're in a long trade. And if everything is screaming down, the rules are met on the large chart, we're going to wait for the green bar, for the up bar, for the reversal bar. And this reversal bar is not the entry. This reversal bar says, hey guys, let's find those favorable large triggers, large and synthetic, overlapping. And let me do this real quick. I want you guys to see this. So this is just synthetics, right? And this is just large. And this is where they actually overlap. But guys, your range is anywhere from the highest point of the line triggers to the lowest point of the triggers. So it doesn't matter if the line's only inside of the synthetic or only inside of the large. It's inside of triggers. Reversal bar prints. I identify my favorable large triggers, but I don't enter when price hits them. I find my line. In this case, it's a magenta midband, and there's only one line inside of those triggers. This line represents the point where the market is most likely to continue, where the small crowd is most likely to fail. And my limit order goes a couple ticks below, guys. These lines beyond the trigger lines are not a part of the window of opportunity. They're not where I expect my trade to come from, because they are beyond the trigger lines. I don't want price to get beyond the trigger lines. Hell, I really don't want price to get beyond the area inside of triggers, but sometimes they will. This blue line on the other side of the trigger lines is not a part of the window. I don't want the market pushing all the way down to that blue line. Guys, my edge is gone. My advantage is gone from the wrong side of the triggers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insist on this look, guys. And I'm going to be able to identify where the market is most likely to continue using rule number 3 for the highest probability trend trade. Are there any questions about the entry rules? Are there any questions about reversal bar? And guys, I'm going to tell you one of the study tools that you can use, and we'll just do it together. On the client trades, in the spreadsheet, there's the sequence for long and short. So here's kind of what it looks like as you go through. Odds favorable momentum, haven't reached the fib, the rules are met on the large chart. And it's time to look for an entry, so I'm going to look at my triggers, my areas. Where do they line up? Not doing anything. I'm not entering the market. I'm waiting for the reversal bar. And at the time of the reversal bar, the signal for the pullback has begun, right? And I'm done here. The rules are met. Go to the small chart. Don't focus. Reversal bar prints, and the first thing that I have to do is I have to identify my trigger lines, guys, from the top line to the bottom line, whether it's synthetic above large or large above synthetic. The wider this box is, the bigger my window may be. So I've identified my triggers, not entering yet. I'm just defining where I'm going to look for areas. So then I look for the areas inside. Fibonacci support. Mid-band, yellow 1-to-1s. If there was a blue fib, that'd be a part of the equation. And I'm creating my window of opportunity, the point where the small crowd is most likely to fail. Once I've defined this range, and guys, this range right here is 13 ticks wide. 13 ticks wide. I'm going to activate my limit order right at the top of that window. And guys, this becomes the entry for the highest probability trend trade. This becomes exactly where I'm going to get in with the highest chance of success. And here's the deal. If the small crowd pushes, when they hit my limit order, I'm in the trade. If they push all the way down to yellow 1-to-1s inside of triggers, guys, I'm still in the trade because I'm still at the point where my advantage is. If they push beyond that window, beyond those triggers, ladies and gentlemen, your ability to define where the market is most likely to continue is going to help you define exactly where your initial stop is placed, right where the market shouldn't go. And that's the first step in management. Being able to understand where the market is likely to continue helps you define where the market should not go. And that's your first stop. And ladies and gentlemen, your stop will get hit. You will lose trades. You will give money to the market. Anything that wins 70 to 80% of the time is mathematically obligated to lose 20 to 30% of the time. But if I take a trade that typically wins 70 to 80% of the time, how often can I expect to lose? Every 10 trades. Is anybody good at math? How many should I be prepared to lose? Every 10 trades. Does 2 to 3 sound reasonable? Every 100 trades I take, I'm probably going to lose 20 to 30 of them. I don't get to pick when. I don't get to pick the winners. I don't get to pick the losers. I'll never have any idea what the market's going to do. But what I do know without question, that is if I have odds favorable momentum, if the path is clear and I enter at the areas inside of favorable large triggers, I have the potential to win more than I lose. I have a statistical advantage. So it's imperative that you study this. It's imperative that you see it enough, that you trust it, that you know where your stop goes. And guys, with all those advantages, you're more likely to get a reversal bar in the direction of your trade than you are to get stopped out. And if that happens, you can reduce your risk a couple ticks above that reversal bar. You can reduce risk even further. Same thing, couple ticks below on the low. But you've got to be able to find these. And this is the easiest way to do it. I said earlier that having the pressure of a trade isn't the best way to learn, guys. Taking pictures without that pressure, without that fear, without that stress. So you can scroll back on your large chart. Historically, it goes back 10 days, guys. If you see the rules met in one of these tails, circle it. And then if you look at your small chart, and it's a pullback to support inside of favorable large triggers, guys, you have the highest probability trend trade. Take a picture, annotate the chart, get it into your spreadsheet. Study it before you start the day. And that's how you're going to get to where you want to be, guys, is that study. So let's see just for grins. And I'm just going to do this. Because, guys, I can cheat. Because all we're talking about right now is entry rules. All we're talking about is entry. I'm not worried about areas or anything else. I want to make sure that you guys are comfortable with the process of finding entries and also the process of being able to study. If I see odds favorable momentum and nothing in the way, I'm going to circle a tail. And guys, I can go back and do this for 10 days. I can go back 10 days on every workspace that I have, and I can circle these tails. And this is only the first part. Does everyone see how the momentum is strong? How the path is clear on this chart? And I'm just circling tails. I'm not taking trades. All I'm doing is saying there might have been a pullback here. Let's go see if it fits my rules. This is the most quiet class ever. So if I pull up my small chart and I start scrolling back, well, that first one was right into a mid band right inside of the large triggers. Right at support, inside of large triggers. Right at support, right at those large triggers. Support in between the correction points. I love that, Ollie. I'm just not used to it. I've been married a long time. So guys, you can scroll back and you can see these things pulled right back to resistance, right inside the triggers. Start taking pictures because this is your pattern. You've got to recognize momentum. You've got to understand termination conditions. Once you can do that, guys, once you get those two concepts, the concept of momentum and the concept of a clear path, you're going to be unstoppable. And I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to make mistakes. You're gonna think one thing is something and it's actually something else. So that's where you've got to post in the room, guys. You've got to post in the room, and let's just make sure that your chart reads are right. Let's make sure that your understanding of the rules is correct. That's it. To get to where you want to be, guys, this is the first thing that I give you. And I give you a lot of stuff every day. Good morning, PFI. Nice to see you. Guys, if you're struggling, if you're learning, this is the fastest way to become a chart reader. Go back and take 25 pictures each, guys. Take 25 pictures of strong triggers. Take 25 pictures of weak triggers. Know both sides of the coin. Take 25 pictures of a clear path and 25 pictures of a termination condition, guys. Take the pictures of those entries, areas inside of favorable large triggers, and start shoving them into the 101 section, guys. Start creating that recognition. But don't just take the pictures, right? When we did it this morning, we annotated. We didn't just take a picture of strong triggers and hope we remembered. Look at all the pictures. These are all from today too. We actually took pictures and we described why are they strong? What does it mean to me? What rule does it relate to? Why are they weak? What rule's not met, guys? So I'm creating this recognition. And if you do this, if you go through this process, and it's only 140 pictures, this will take you maybe 2 to 3 hours tops, guys. But you're going to walk away from it with the ability to read your charts. You're going to walk away with it understanding those key advantages, and you're going to walk away being able to make decisions faster. And that's really what we want to do. I'm also going to give you the high probability trend trade checklist. The second sheet is the rules being met. You're going to see strong top or bottom a lot, guys. You're going to hear that. Strong top or bottom. Was it a strong top or bottom? All a strong top or bottom is it's a termination condition on the large chart that none of the triggers break through and the market reverses from it. We call that a strong top or bottom because the decisions were so impactful at support that the sellers jumped ship, the buyers took over, and they were able to reverse the market. And any trades you take after a strong top or bottom has a little higher percentage of winning, but it's not mandatory. Here's your triggers strong. Here's your triggers weak. Know both sides. As you go back and study, make sure that you're taking the correct pictures. There's your termination, your potential to break and broken. Here's your window of opportunity going both directions, guys. So this is designed to create that recognition, to give you a way to police yourself, to make sure that you're following rules. The first page is 4 versions, exactly the same, of the high probability trend trade checklist, guys. This is just for you to print out, to take your most delicious crayon and make sure that you can mark yes to each of these as you enter the market. You're literally going to be looking at your screen, talking to yourself. Do I have momentum? Do I have a clear path? Do I have an entry area? Scare your pets, guys. Say it out loud. Holy smokes, I don't have momentum. I'm going to stop looking for a trade. I do have momentum. Let me search for a clear path. Dag nabbit, it's not there. I'm going to stop looking for a trade. And if you talk to yourself, guys, you're going to be great. Nobody's ever been able to mark yes to all four of these and do worse than 70%. And I'm telling you, I've had some engineers come in here and back test it over a year and end up around, I think 83% is where they were at historically. Doing the work, creating the trust, guys. You got to do the same thing. So I'm going to give you guys that as well. I'm also going to give you my favorite, the KISS plan. The most hated document in Nexgen history because it forces you to be patient. Guys, the KISS plan, the Keep It Simple Sunshine plan for the high probability trend trade. This is a stepping stone in your learning journey. The trade that I've just talked about for over an hour is not the only trade. It's your first trade. It's the trade that typically wins 70 to 80% of the time. It's the trade that creates confidence through the memory of success. It's the trade that teaches you to read your indicators. And if you can become comfortable with the very basic concepts of this trade, you're going to start to recognize patterns and find more opportunities. But this one is designed to optimize your chances of success. And it's going to be, guys, through simulation, study, class feedback, and continuous practice. You're going to be empowered to craft a plan tailored to your personal goals based on your experience reading the indicators. I left that in there because it cracks me up. Once you're a chart reader, you'll create your plan. You won't have the Nexgen plan anymore. You'll have the PFI plan or the Ollie plan. You're going to have the SPICE plan or the CP Rocks plan, right? Because it's going to be based on your abilities, what stands out to you. But until you've got that, focus on what optimizes your chances of success. Really focus on becoming a chart reader. Simple plan for consistency, guys. Don't fight the large chart. I can't stress this enough. Don't fight the large chart. That's a small chart. Hold on. Where's my large chart? Boom. Guys, if the large chart hits a termination, you don't have to hope that it breaks. You know that it has the potential to stop the market. Don't trade into it. That's your best plan for success. If the triggers are strong down, just because you see a blue line, don't go long. You're fighting the momentum created by the large chart. And guys, these are the two most common mistakes that new users make, is they fight momentum and they trade into areas. I was the king of trading into areas. So I had to get to the point in my own trading where I started incorporating the language for termination conditions every time I thought I saw a trade. I had to literally say out loud, did price reach an area? Where are my triggers? And then you're going to define your entry, guys, because great entries create manageable trades. Your entry is mechanical. Your entry leaves very little room for deviation. Your entry is nothing more than if-then. If I have strong triggers, then I will look for a clear path. And if I have a clear path, then I will look for an entry inside of favorable large triggers, guys. And that mechanics gets you kind of rhythmic, in tune with the ups and downs of the market. Your management should be just as mechanical in the beginning, because your management, and there you go. Cool, we're going to address that, Z-Robot. Thank you for sharing that. So in the beginning, when you are amped out of your brain, when you are nervous, when you are greedy, when you're fearful, guys, the easiest way to manage these trades is just as mechanical as your entry. And then let me say the magic phrase, you will craft a plan tailored to your personal goals based on your ability reading the indicators. But until you can, that's a big part of it, proper stops. But until you can control your emotions, guys, keep it mechanical. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to make sure that your entry is awesome. And guys, if your entry is at an area where the market is most likely to continue, your initial stop is where the market shouldn't go. So your if-then. If I enter the market at an area inside of favorable large triggers, then my stop goes 4 to 5 ticks beyond the correction point. And I'm either going to get stopped out, or all of those advantages are going to come into play and I'm going to get a reversal bar in the direction of the trade. So my first stop movement, if I get a reversal bar, then I will move my stop 2 ticks above that reversal bar, or for a long trade, 2 ticks below that reversal bar. And then Z Robot, I won't touch my stop until I either hit my first target or my second target. And guys, my first target is $100. $100 in the distance, $100 from entry. And with the advantage of momentum, with a clear path, with that area inside of triggers creating a bounce, I'm more likely to hit $100 than not. And guys, if you're a crude oil trader, a lot of times you'll hit that first target on the reversal bar. Your entry will be so precise. Once I hit the first target, there's $100 in my bank. There is a considerable drying of my sweaty palms. My pulse starts to relax a little bit because I just got paid. And guys, that's confidence, that's success. I'm going to move my stop to break even. I'm going to make sure that I have absolutely no risk on the trade. And I'm going to make sure that I already got paid. And I'm not going to touch that stop. And it's either going to have to hit my second target. In Z Robot, it's only $200 in the distance. That's it. It's $200 away from that great entry. So my only options at this point is I either get stopped out break even, but I still made $100, or it hits my second target. And if it hits my second target, that's a $300 trade. Guys, that's $300 in your pocket. That is $300 worth of confidence. That is $300 worth of yeehaw. And is this the best exit? Maybe, maybe not. The goal is to get paid. But as you grow with the software, as you begin to recognize patterns, as you begin to embrace advantages, guys, you're going to find opportunities to hold for bigger moves. You're going to say, oh my gosh, with strong triggers, with a clear path, maybe I'll let that last target run. Maybe I'll turn that $300 trade into a $500 trade. But until you can go through everything and read your charts in the moment, that mechanical approach is typically the most advantageous for new users. That management is right here. The entries are right here. Guys, management ideas are right here. But in the beginning, keep it simple, keep it focused, get paid. And I want to show you something pretty cool. This is the part that freaks people out. And Z Robot, I think this is helpful for a lot of people. If the best you can do every day is $100 per contract, $200 a day, that's it, right? No home runs there. That's $50,000 a year. And if you double that, it's $100,000 a year. And if you double that, that's $200,000 a year. You don't have to be in every move of the market. You don't have to capture every dollar that's being traded, guys. Take your share, right? Take your share. And then Z Robot, how long do I hang on? Right until my stop is hit. And my stop will always go where the market shouldn't. It's not a number, guys. It's a location. It's a location on the chart. So one more thing, and then we're going to call the first hour and take a break, and we'll start looking at the stuff that you guys have done. And I'm going to give you everything that I've shown you guys, but one of the things that you have to know before you enter the market, of course not as a new user, how could you, right? But when you're like, okay, I'm ready, I'm going to go live, I'm going to trade real money, I've been studying entries for a month, I'm ready. Guys, you have to know why you will enter a trade. And the reason you enter has got to be because your rules are met, and your rules have got to provide a statistical advantage. And then Z Robot, why will you exit? And that's the part where most traders fail. They hope, right? They start smoking the hopium, and even though everything has changed in their head, they swear it's still going to go in the direction of their trade. So you keep it mechanical, right? And you train yourself on simulator to be mechanical, to be robotic, to be emotionless, to develop faith in your plan, guys, and commit to having those rules met. So don't jump early if you don't have a reason. Don't exit late. And that's the success, right? And the more consistent in action you can become, the more consistent in profits you'll typically become, guys. And your process yields the results. And this is the most important thing. The process yields the results. Guys, I'm learning to be a better golfer. And my desire to shoot in the 70s has absolutely no bearing on whether or not I'm going to get there. It's my swing mechanics. It's the process that's going to get me there. It's my ability to putt, to keep my head down, to keep my left arm straight, to rotate my hips, all those different things, guys. The process yields results. So don't focus on the money on simulator. Focus on the process. The money will follow. And this is one of the most important things and why I keep it simple. Guys, if I'm in a high probability trend trade, what's it going to take to get me out? Initially, Z-Robot, the KISS plan rules. That's it. I'm going to keep it super mechanical. But I'm going to be taking pictures. I'm going to be taking notes. And eventually, my exit conditions are going to grow. And if I take one of those 50-50 trades, guys, it's got a different set of exit conditions, which means that I've got to know both of them, like the back of my hand, before I try to execute live. And then if I start adding in momentum and HVAs, guys, it continues to grow. So simplicity keeps you focused. If this is all you have to think about in the beginning, guys, it's going to increase your chances of success. So that's my first hour. It's the same hour every day, guys. It really is. There's very little deviations unless you guys ask questions. Let me turn my newest PDF into changing my newest PDF into the order of picks. So what I'm going to do, did that make sense, David? Did that bring it together a little bit for you? And thank you for that, Z-Robot. So guys, I'm going to give you the chart reading 101. I'm going to give you the daily goals, the exit conditions, the high probability trend trade checklist, the KISS plan, and the order of pictures, guys. I'm going to give you all of these. And remember when I told you I'd give you everything you need to be successful? Guys, this is it. I mean, there's literally... There's nothing that you don't have. You have everything. Every picture that I use, every lesson that I teach, you have everything. I forgot one. I'm going to give you my spreadsheet because my spreadsheet has probably more answers than your spreadsheet. Now guys, let's go through some of the sections on this one. When you go to the things that we've done, almost 400 pictures for you to study. Go through it. The entry sequence, the management sequence, reason to hold longer. Guys, it even goes to patterns that repeat themselves. There's one that says split triggers. Why do we insist on favorable large? Because when they're divided, I don't know where it's going to go. It lessens the likelihood of success. It reduces the precision. And then there's a whole thing on termination conditions. And guys, I've been very fortunate in my time with Nexgen, and I've met a lot of traders, and I've talked to a lot of successful traders. And the one common thing that I've heard, and man, I'll tell you what, it's stuck in my head, is that if you don't have a plan, it's going to be difficult. If you don't know why you're going to get in, why you're going to get out, it's going to be difficult, guys, and you're going to open yourself up to all the emotions. But once you have something to follow, once you have a path, it really takes a lot of the stress out. So guys, that's my first hour. Obviously, it was an hour and 20. But let's look, large chart read. What do you think? Do we have momentum? New users, give me a Y or an N. Does it have momentum? Do I have a market where the odds are favorable for it to push down? What do you think? Yes, absolutely. Do I have a clear path? And of course, this is going to mess with us, because these pink 1-to-1s aren't on the list of things that can be termination conditions, but they had to show up just for this lesson. Do I have a clear path, guys? Have I reached a fib, a yellow 1-to-1, or a divergence low? Absolutely I do. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to look. Apparently, yes. I got a reversal bar. At the time of the reversal bar, I drew a box because I'm new around my large and synthetic triggers, guys. And I said to myself, do I have an area inside of favorable large triggers? What do you guys think? Do I have a fib? Do I have a mid-band? Do I have yellow 1-to-1s inside of favorable large triggers? going to blow it up for you. So, Tom, the answer is no. And the key word here is inside. The key word is inside. From the lowest point of the triggers to the highest point of the triggers, I don't have any areas. There's no areas inside. I've got a fib right here, but it didn't stop the market. I've got a mid-band right here, and this one happened to, right? Once I get beyond these triggers, my advantage goes away, guys. Well, you probably paid extra, Ollie. Trade your charts, right? Once I'm beyond the trigger lines, my advantage goes away. And I don't know if this mid-band's going to stop it. I don't know if they want to retrace to the mid-band over here. Maybe they want to go retest fibs. Once I'm beyond that correction point, I have to say to myself, hey, my rules are no longer met. And then, guys, as you grow with the software a little bit, you'll find ways to work around that. You'll be able to read your charts fast enough and calculate advantages fast enough that you'll say, you know what, maybe with a reversal bar confirming the direction of the move, I'll enter this trade. Maybe I won't just jump in arbitrarily, but I'll force it to let me know that we're doing what we need to do. And guys, that's how plans are built, through repetition, through seeing it. But keeping it very, very basic in the beginning. And then, Tom, you're an absolute rock star for saying yes, because you opened the door for a lesson. Could be a million different things, Ollie. $10.29. We are in the same time frame. It could be data. It could be days back. It could be a couple different things. I was one tick off from my brother this morning. It was weird. I had some data problems this morning where I had a big gap through my Apex data, Trade of 8 data, and I went back and downloaded Kinetic and filled the gaps, but I was still like a tick off. So that may be me. It could be. Or maybe you're pulling them. Maybe you stole one of John Novak's workspaces that uses maybe an 8 range line or something. Mine are close. And now you have to ask yourself, I got 2 divergences straight off of 1-to-1s, but I do have areas inside. For me personally, this is an absolute from a 1-to-1 where I'm a little more patient than typically. But guys, that's the first hour. And I promise you, I do the same thing every day. I use the same language. I point out the same patterns. We talk about the same advantages. And then the second hour will be me looking at your pictures. The second hour will be you guys showing me what you're doing. Hey, Mark, here's my trade. Here's my read. Are you really, Ollie? Do you want my 2 cents on it? It's my opinion. I'm going to go to indicators. It's my opinion that those small swing 1-to-1s are so insignificant on any time frame less than like a 21. I literally make mine transparent. I don't even look at them because they're from tiny little swings. There's some information over here that tells me I might need to be a little patient, even though I've got momentum and a clear path. But it's still, this is high probability, and it pulled right back to the mid-band, and it's already starting to head down. So I try not to think too much. And one of the reasons that those pink lines didn't make the picture is because, so terminations are they're established based on their likelihood to stop the market, if that makes sense. So divergence highs, divergence lows, blue support, red resistance, yellow 1-to-1s. If you go back 100 times that the recipe for termination conditions are met, you lose more than you win trading into them. Not true with the pink 1-to-1s, which is why they didn't make the list. Does that make sense? They don't consistently remove your advantage enough to make them detrimental. And there you go. Guys, odds favorable and a clear path. David, odds favorable and a clear path. It's hard to keep me out of that trade. Well, that was news. So they were stuttering because of news. It's hard to keep me out of that trade. And Pete even said it. Look, you've got a midband inside of those triggers. With this look on the large chart, nothing short of 3 divergences to keep me out. I want that trade. I want to go with that momentum. I want to go with that clear path. Because my large chart leads the way. And look where it went to and bounced, guys. You knew about it for the last 30 minutes. What a great place to take profits. Hopefully someone will show me that trade. But guys, I am super hydrated. I'm going to take 5 minutes. When I come back, we'll start looking at all y'all's pictures. So go stretch your legs, guys. Nice one, Pete. I had a feeling you would. Post it in. Show these kids how it's done. At it. So here's the question, and Ollie, I'm not going to put you on the spot. You don't have to answer. If you missed it, ask yourself why. If you missed it, go take the picture and annotate it. And let me show you why I say this. Dun, dun, dun. If you missed this trade, and guys, it's cool if you missed it. I'm not mad. You shouldn't be mad. It is what it is. Your large chart read is strong triggers, yes. And it's clear path, yes. So with rules 1 and 2 met on the large chart, there are 2 things that will keep me out of a trade. The first thing is no area inside of favorable large triggers, or triggers. We'll just do triggers, right? Favorables for the new people. The second thing is 3 divergence. And guys, this is the rule for the high probability trend trade. When I have this look on the large chart, there's only 2 things that will keep me out of a trade. Here, Ellie says good morning. Here I didn't have areas inside of favorable large triggers. So if you didn't take it here, cool, no worries, right? But here, the rules were met. Does everybody see that? And this is what's important, guys. This is why I say you have to know why. And you have to know what your rules are. And for the high probability trend trade, guys, this is it. This is the only 2 things that keep me out. And if you're like, well, but there was divergence from the 1-to-1s and I'm a little nervous, it doesn't say it anywhere in the rules, right? Divergence from 1-to-1s, second higher divergence, guys, those may become a management thing, but I can't confuse management with entry. And my rules say, from the high probability trend trade, this is what it takes. This is what it takes to get me into the market. So it's okay to miss trades, guys. It's okay to not take them. It's okay to reason yourself away from them. But I encourage you to go back. You were going through one of Pete's screenshots? That's the worst. The worst is going to fix some breakfast and then you come back and you're like, oh man, that was such a good one. But if you talk yourself out of a trade, that's why I wasn't putting you on the spot, Ollie. I understand where you're at with your trading. If you talk yourself out of a trade, go back to the rules. Take a picture, write it down, and see if you really shouldn't have been in that trade. All right, guys, I'm going to start clicking on pictures, and we're going to talk about momentum, clear path, and entry every time. Pete got us going. Pete's testing my eyes. Odds favorable. Everything is up, right? You're in at 78.50. Absolutely not a clear path. And Pete's going to get tired of me saying this to him. Absolutely not a clear path. Guys, the rule for a clear path is that both the small triggers and the large triggers have made it through the line that's been hit. Now, Pete's version of a clear path means that he has room to get back to that fib. Is that fair, Pete? Is that... So Pete's version of a clear path says if I get in at 52, I got room to make money to get back, right? But guys, if you're brand new, this is not a clear path. This will never be a clear path. This is an area that has the potential to stop the market as much as it has the potential to break. And then Pete's killing it. 3 divergences tells him, man, let me get the hell out of this trade and not lose money. Beautiful trade, guys. When you start making money on the trades that fail, you know you're reading your charts. You know you're doing a great job with it. And Pete, what did you have? Maybe 5 or 6 ticks of risk max going into that trade once the reversal bar printed? Absolutely beautiful, dude. It's so much fun for me to watch you guys take the software and really start to run with it, because everything that you do outside of the high probability trend trade, I catch notes of the high probability trend trade in it. You need to find your small tricks. Man, who was that? GWC, was that you? Whose picture was this? This was GWC, right? Did we get that fixed? Man, guys, if you ever have a picture that I need to look at right then, go, Mark, I need you to look at this right now, right? This is a tech issue. There's no small triggers on here. That's where, reload the template. Most people don't even notice that. I love that you did. Guys, if it looks like you're missing an indicator, reload the template. All right, Pete. Okay, cool. All right, I'm going to take a picture of Pete's picture. So the large chart, Pete, I'm going to annotate your chart. The large chart says weak triggers. The large chart says textbook termination condition present. Large chart says, man, we're weak and there is nowhere to go. That's exactly what that should means to you. Yeah, get with Jason, Z-Robot, and just let him do a quick little look for you. He's freaking brilliant, and he'll fix anything in the moment that'll take me an hour. I'm sorry you're having those troubles. And guys, there is the siren song, right? Giving away 66% of the advantages and still taking a trade. And Pete's at a point in his trading where he will take calculated chances. But if you're a brand new user, there's just no reason. That's not a momentum trade. It looks like a trend trade, but the rules aren't met. And then adding on to it is even worse, right? It's just, it goes sideways. And Pete, I'm sorry you took a loser. But guys, losers happen. The easy ones have the advantages. And there'll be a point, and I've watched Pete trade long enough to know that he can make money on these trades, right? But if you're brand new, you're probably not there. You're probably not where you need to be able to manage these fast enough, to take these chances and still come out smelling like roses. So, Pete, you broke all the rules there, brother. And then Trading Book. Trading Book says, Mark, I'm going to make this load up slow for you because the anticipation is awesome. Let me get rid of some and see if that helps. There it is. So Trading Book, not a clear path. It's weakening, but it's still good. Great entries, create manageable trades. Absolutely beautiful Trading Book. Absolutely beautiful. Google Chrome, man, I've got so much RAM and so much speed. I just think sometimes they don't load in. Move stop loss to break even after first, and it's easy to hold for that second target, isn't it? When there's nothing to lose, it's so much less stressful holding for that next one. You killed it, dude. You have been on an absolute tear lately. Such great trading. Nicely done. Let's see what's next. Oh, here comes Morgan. All three pictures tell the story. I'll click on all three of them. Morgan, I always get excited when you rapid fire me. You have one tab using 822. Is that a lot? Are the MBs a lot? I think the KBs are a lot, right? Yeah, so maybe it doesn't. That's almost a gig. That means nothing to me. I'm from Texas. A gig means that you just got a frog with a stick. That's a gig. All right. Let me put that back where it was. All my southern people are laughing. We've done that. All right, so let's see. Strong top, odds favorable, Is it a clear path? Oh, we have space, haven't reached the fib. Area inside of triggers on the right side. I like it. You're right before the correction point. Stop is where the market shouldn't go. So far, I like everything about it. And it got you, huh? Ran over and continued down. Would I have taken more risk on this? No, not at all. Morgan, with this look, just out of curiosity, with this look, how many of these do you expect to win? Every 10 trades you take, how many do you expect to win? 7, 8 out of 10. And guys, this is one of the reasons, and this is one of the things that you have to think about, is if you win 7 or 8, doesn't it make sense that you're going to lose 2 or 3 of them, even when it's perfect, even when you have every advantage, even when you have momentum, when the path is clear? And then Ollie, I love this entry, and let me talk about the correction point why. We expect price to come back to triggers, right? Is everybody comfortable with that idea on entry? We expect price to come back to the triggers. I don't have any lines in here. None. No lines in this trigger. It's out of the equation. And Morgan is saying, and let me show you how smart Morgan is this morning. Morgan is saying that Mark can't use snag it. That I expect price to do this. Because Morgan studied, he's gone through expectations, and Morgan says, I expect price to maybe make it to the top line of that trigger. And Ollie, his line, his area isn't quite inside of it, right? So you're wondering, man, is that a good entry? Well, his line is before the correction point. It puts him into the market. And he knows exactly where his stop has to go. And it gets stopped out. And all it was, Morgan, all it was is some jerk face with more money wanted it to go higher. It's just a pattern. That's all it is. It's just a pattern. But if you go back and you take this exact same look, guys, you take this exact same look and do it 100 times, it's a pattern that wins more than it loses. So Morgan, is there a way to capture? That's a tough one. Yeah, and they went to the fib, huh? Who, wasn't it you asking about this look yesterday? So let's see what happens. So you go up, you get stopped out. Bummer. Like, it happens. And then the small triggers roll. And it pushes down. And then right here, Morgan, right here, price comes back to the small triggers, to the 1-to-1s. Prince divergence gets below the large. It's tough because those 1-to-1s showed up, man. I don't really see an easy way to take advantage of that. And that's just one of those things. Like, I'm looking at it. I've got a set of rules for when a trend trade fails. Let me find it for you guys. So, yeah. It'll get easier when you know that you're taking the right loss. If that makes sense. It'll be easier when you know you're taking it. So, here's a good example. 2 divergences doesn't freak me out. This is a high probability trend trade, right? And I take the perfect entry. And 3 divergences says, whoa, I got to get out of the market, right? And you're just like, 3 divergences, son of a gun, what am I going to do? Morgan, this is your look, brother. When the large chart still has odds favorable momentum, when the large chart still has the clear path, this is what the re-entry looks like after the problems have subsided, right? Second lower takes me out. This is my re-entry. And notice that everything agrees for the trade again. The triggers roll, everything says up. and you're typically using an area right at those small triggers, let me give you this picture, but go back and look at some of the ones that overran and stopped you out and see if there was an entry that looks like that. Because I'm all for taking a re-entry, but the key is my large chart has to still say go. And I think one of the problems with re-entry, and we'll use yours for an example here. One of the problems with re-entry on this one, Morgan, is that by the time you get up here, your smalls are breaking, you're above these 1-to-1s, right? It's not the best look anymore, which makes it harder to grab that one. But if it still looked like this, let's find a way to capitalize, right? So the advantages are gone by the time they start heading back down, which means that you start clean slate. It's no longer a continuation. It's just a failed trend trade. But dude, I would lose that one all day. All day long I would lose that trade. Wouldn't even hesitate. Wouldn't even blink. I'd be like, oh, they got me. I'm going to wait for the next one. Good stuff. Cam, we already got them headed that way, brother. Morgan, you did everything right. And guys, that's another one of the reasons that this classroom I think is so nice, is sometimes you do everything right and you still lose, and you start questioning everything. You start wondering, well, what did I do wrong? What was against me? Was it the divergence? Was it this? Was it that? And if you just go back and revisit your rules, you realize that you're going to take losers every now and then. Odds favorable, not a clear path. I love your annotation trading book. You get the pullback. You enter right at the 1-to-1s inside of triggers. And once again, you're making money. Once again, trading with momentum. Trading with direction. Great job, dude. You're kind of coming into your own here. All right, Pete. Market reversed. Strong triggers. There you go, Morgan. How do you feel about it? Same trade, 100%. Exact same trade. He just wasn't willing to risk as much as you. Everything says down. Late entry. Super late entry, right? And then when you get to that fib, you get paid. Nice job. Way late on the entry. That's okay, though. Good job, trading book. That's another one. Really? And another one? Odds favorable, clear path, pull back to resistance inside of favorable, and down it goes. Ladies and gentlemen, you should be stealing trading books pictures right now. Cheetah, that's NASDAQ. That's a NASDAQ chart that you're looking at with trading book. Yeah, so it's a 34 and a 13. Or maybe a 34 and a 10. I can't see which one it is. Yeah, he cut it off. But it's in your workspaces. The NASDAQ workspace is there. But I'm going to tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, if you can't nail it on a slower time frame, you're going to struggle a lot on the NASDAQ because it is fast. And if you don't know your rules, by the time you figured out whether or not you had a trade, it's going to be gone or you're going to be run over. All right, the other mark, the more popular mark, the better looking mark. Odds favorable, right at the brink of clear path. You take the entry. No, it's okay. You're good. Divergence doesn't kill a high probability trend trade. It pushed it a little lower though. And Mark, I don't think you failed yourself. Oh yeah, it's 50-50. Two divergences, sorry. You didn't fail yourself. You broke a rule. Two divergences on a 50-50. This is where, Z-Robot, are you in here? Or are you getting tech help? Something to think about, Mark. Cool. So I'm going to say reversal bar, so I just wanted to get you in here. Mark, you had killer momentum on the large chart, and you were so close to a clear path, like ridiculously close to a clear path. And you're just saying to yourself, man, I'm like 99% of the way to high probability, and it is one dash on a large sugar that's keeping me on the 50-50 look. Two divergences kills a 50-50. This is where I might say, with that large chart look, I'll force them to give me a reversal bar in the direction of the trade, but I'm willing to take it because it's coming from a strong bottom, because it's odds favorable momentum, because it's so freaking close to being high probability trend trade. I know that there's a little challenge. That confirmation bar pays huge dividends. Because you really are, and this is going outside of the rules. This is kind of that next step. But does that make sense? When there's so much going for this trade and you know that that's a challenge, guys, I love the confirmation bar because not only does it mean that the market's going in the direction of the large chart, it means that now I know exactly where my risk is too. And Mark, your stop was perfect. Your stop made sense. It really did. They just got you. But I love confirmation bars when it's so close but not quite perfect. Great job. Don't feel bad about this one. They just got you. And it was so close, dude. And then Ollie, we saw that. That was your fib. Joel entered at the area beyond favorable large triggers. I love the annotation. Made quick profits. Still got out. And could have re-entered. Nice trade, Joel. Great job. Trading book. This one's into the termination, right? But with that level of momentum coming from a strong top, you say, you know what? I'll take a shot. And I'll just get out of trouble. Because with this much momentum, it's likely to retest. And sure enough, it did. And the idea that you're already catching on and trusting momentum is beautiful. Remember when I said momentum will even cover some of the mistakes that new users make? That's it. And you know what? To be honest with you, you hadn't hit the fib yet down there. So beautiful, dude. You're killing it. I'm excited for you right now. Stay the path. Stay the path. It's working for you. Need to get paid bills are coming. I believe this was Pete. Triggs down. Everything says down. And look at that. Waited for the mid-band to get inside. Said, you know what? My rules aren't met yet. Let me go ahead and wait for them to get met. And let me get out at a blue line. God, beautiful. Does everybody see it? Odds favorable, clear path. In at the area inside of favorable, out at the blue line. This is your look. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your look. Commit it to memory. And if you're brand new with me, and I know that there's some new people, you're on demo, you're trying to decide if this is right for you, I hope that you're seeing that it works. I hope that you're seeing that this isn't some snake oil BS. Guys, this is people, not me. I'm not handpicking pictures. I'm showing what our clients are doing. And Trading Book said, you know what? Sometimes you got to pee. Odds favorable, clear path. Look at that entry. And it just rifles all the way up to the one-to-ones. I'll show you, Tom. It's a beautiful trade. So what is, and I'll address the momentum trade as well, Tom. Just so you know, I'm not ignoring you. I'm mad at you, PFI, for trading against momentum. Go run a lap. You're off the team for a minute. Not really. You're never off the team. Here's the picture. So Tom, remember when I asked you if there were areas inside of the triggers? And there weren't. They were all above. I will. Do you see how all of the areas, the fib and the midband, are on the wrong side of the triggers? I want to make sure that you see that. Cool. And do you see how with a little bit of patience, the midband made its way back inside of those triggers? Which means that now the rules are met. And what Pete did, and guys, this is such a beautiful example of insisting on your rules to be met. What Pete did is, you notice that he doesn't have an entry. Doesn't have an entry, doesn't have an entry, and then when his rules are finally met, he gets in and he capitalizes. So no, Tom, areas inside of triggers. Don't limit it to the midband. It aggravates me when people come in and they're so focused on the midband. And I apologize to whoever's telling you that it's a midband and not areas, guys. The areas inside of favorable large triggers can be fibs, can be midbands, can be yellow 1-to-1s. Guys, don't get all starstruck on a midband. It's only one of three. What about it, Morgan? Does that make sense, Tom? This midband could have just as easily been a fib or yellow 1-to-1s. Hold on, Morgan. Are you looking at the chat box right now? I want to make sure that you can see this. Fibs, midbands, yellow 1-to-1s. That's it. Fibs, midbands, yellow 1-to-1s. And guys, this goes back to when we start to create our own rules. Well, divergence is a line, but it's not one of the lines for entry. So you've got to learn the language, guys. Fibs, midbands, yellow 1-to-1s. Otherwise, you're going to change your approach. The same reason I didn't consider this a termination condition. It's not a part of the termination conditions. And yeah, so Tom, draw those rectangles, find those trigger lines, and then just look for a line inside. Fibs, midbands, yellow 1-to-1s. And it's that very simple language, that understanding. It's gonna start to resonate, and it's gonna start to click. And what you'll see is, let's go back and we'll go to Trading Book's picture. And let me slow down on it and let me take a picture. He didn't annotate it. He just said, hey, let's check out this trade. So the first thing that happens, Tom, every time I open a chart, every time I look at my chart, and I love that he didn't annotate this. Thanks, Trading Book. When I open my charts and look, I have to ask myself, in this order, do I have strong triggers? No. No trade. Brand new users. Yes. Go to second question. Do I have a clear path? No. No trade. Yes. Look for entry on smaller chart. So this is what I do. When I look, I go to the large chart. So rule number 1 says strong triggers. Do you see it? Small's above the large, the space. This is the crankiness look you could ever have. This is beautiful. This is a market that is absolutely screaming to the upside. And then I ask myself, did I reach an area that could stop it? I didn't. I also have a clear path. Are you with me so far, everybody? The large chart, it's like a flow chart. If I have strong triggers, go to the second rule. But if I don't, and here's the thing, it's okay to say no trade. It's okay to say no trade. But since both of the rules are met, I have to look for the entry on the smaller chart. So this is where I have to know the language of my rules. Small chart says buy a pullback at an area, fibs, mid bands, yellow 1-to-1s, inside of triggers. So let's take a look, and let me move this over to the side. So Tom, once my rules are met, and let me do this. This is rule number 1. Let me give it a number. This is rule number 2. Hey David, take care, man. Good seeing you in here. And then this is rule number 3. So it's only 3 rules. It's only 2 charts. But once these are met, I come here. Do I have a fib, a midband, or a yellow 1-to-1 inside of triggers? So the first thing I do is I wait for the reversal bar, because the reversal bar is signaling the beginning of the pullback. So reversal bar signals beginning of pullback. And then I have to say, where are my triggers? And when I do that, here's your first rectangle, right? From the highest line to the lowest line. So there are my triggers. I'll put a box there so we know what it is. And then I have to say, do I have areas inside of them? And this will be, we'll do the yellow box. From the mid band to support. So the yellow box represents the point where the market is most likely to continue. The rules say, and we'll use this one. The rules say, place a limit order 2 ticks above the highest point of support. So I'll put this one over here. So this is the exact flow chart for me every time, guys. I open my charts and I look. Do I have strong triggers? No, no trade. Yes? Hell yeah, let's go to the second one. Do I have a clear path? No, no trade. I'm training myself to wait for rules to be met. If yes, look for an entry on the smaller chart. Well, let me go through my rules. My rules say buy a pullback in an area inside of triggers. So the reversal bar is the beginning of the pullback. Where are my triggers? That's your white box. Do I have areas inside of them? That's my yellow box. We'll place a limit order a couple ticks above. And guys, this is the flow chart every time you look for a high probability trend trade. Thank you. Steve, you don't say anything all day long except to correct me. Oh no, wait, look for entry on smaller chart. I'll be damned. I'm pretty good at this. So the limit order would be right at 18,950. Exactly, Tom. Exactly. And this is the process. Every time you're looking for a high probability trend trade, this is your flow chart. I'm having fun with you, Steve. You got me on the heads and tails thing. I still think of that every time I tell the story. I always appreciate it. And the stop loss is pretty big. It really is. It's all the way down here below the triggers. And Tom, this is the NASDAQ. But here's the deal. Your initial stop is right here. Once you get a reversal bar, look at how much it reduces behind that reversal bar. Yep, so the initial stop is below the triggers. And then once you get a reversal bar, you can reduce it. So let me give you this link. But this is the same process, guys, and this is why I think language is so important when you're learning to read your indicators, when you're learning to follow your rules. Because if you say to yourself out loud, this whole rigmarole every time, you're talking about what's good about your trade. You're talking about what's pushing the market. You're talking about nothing being in the way. You're talking about exactly where you need an entry from. And guys, you're convincing yourself that these advantages are the only reason to get into a trade. Support for the win. Holy smokes. Who would have thought that a blue line on a chart would stop the market? Isn't it awesome? I think it's amazing. Guys, I've been with this for a while. And it still floors me that the fibs stopped the market. It still absolutely floors me how often these rules work. And then trading book, your rule to skip this one only if two snakes hugging. So if you don't have favorable large triggers, you'll sit out. And that's okay in the beginning, right? Joel, everything says up, the path is clear, pull back to support right inside of triggers. And they get you, huh? Get you break even, but you still made money. Beautiful, Joel. And that's the thing, guys. And let me revisit this real quick. And I like that this has taken a while and we're digressing a little bit now and then. Guys, the KISS plan, the very basic plan, is designed to optimize your chances of success. This is the best of the best, guys. This is the one where you have everything top-notch for the trade. Everything is solid. And I can't stress this enough. You're going to change your plan, guys. You're going to get good at reading the indicators. You're going to see more opportunities, and you're going to manage differently. And that's the goal. It's virtually non-existent for me to know anybody in this room or in Nexgen's history that trades only the highest probability trend trade. But I can tell you that most of the traders I know that have found success started simple, and they learned to read their indicators, and then even when they weren't looking for more patterns, they saw them anyway. And that's why I'm such a pain in your ass, and I know that I am, saying make sure that you can identify momentum in a clear path before you start looking for everything. And then spice for the brand new user, for the greenhorn, for the new guy. Absolutely. The strong top or bottom is, and let me go to it real quick. I rearranged my little blog things, so I'm trying to find it. Here we go. Strong tops and bottoms for the new user. So strong tops and bottoms start with a termination condition, spice. And this is a good lesson for everybody. And this is one of those things where when you know that termination conditions happen on the large chart, you know that a strong top or bottom, which starts with a termination condition, needs to come from the large chart. So we let it be a termination condition first. Awesome. Have a good one, Trading Book. Great trading today, dude. Great trading today. So once it's a termination condition on the large chart, Spice, it doesn't mean that it's a strong top. It doesn't mean that it's a strong bottom. It's when those triggers roll, when those large triggers roll from green to red or red to green. That's when we say this higher time frame key area not only stopped the market, none of the triggers could break through, but those yahoos also reversed it. So I'm always looking for my strong tops and bottoms on the large chart. And guys, I'm going to tell you right now, they create a warm fuzzy, but they're not mandatory. They've never been mandatory. But they will not for the high probability trend trade. You will see, though, that if you're going to take a 50-50 trade, a medium probability trade, that strong top or bottom pays huge dividends. So understanding how to use it. For the high probability trend trade, whatever. For a medium probability trend trade, it's going to help me with the likelihood of success. There's that PDF file. I just drop it in the room for you as well. So you have to know what kind of trade you're getting into to know what you need to create that advantage. And then Joel, that was beautiful. Let me see where I'm at here. And then Tom, I'm going to address the difference between a trend trade and a momentum trade. Both rely on large chart momentum. That's the first thing that I want you to know. And one of the reasons that I talk about the basics first. So a momentum trade is a way to capitalize on the momentum without waiting for the whole trend trade. And what it looks like, let me go to, there's actually rules for it. So what a momentum trade is first you have to have a good top or bottom. The same thing that Spice was just asking about. So you do have to understand termination conditions to catch a momentum trade. And you have to understand that no trigger lines get beyond the Fibonacci top or bottom. And guys, this is rule number 1. So this comes back to the idea that if you skipped termination day in class, you're ill-prepared to take a momentum trade. The second thing is you have to have room to your targets. So again, if you don't understand termination conditions, you're ill-prepared to take a momentum trade. And then the entry is just a little different entry. It's not waiting for the pullback to areas inside of favorable large triggers. That's HVA. So let me go to a momentum. What it is instead is this little snap with odds favorable from a great top. You'll see price and small triggers break through areas, and there's these little snapbacks. And guys, this is a momentum trade. They're lower risk. They don't typically run like this. They rely fully on momentum and a good top or bottom. But it's a great way to get in a little bit before the trend trade happens. But it requires an understanding of trend trades. And let's see if we can find just the look on one of these charts. And this is a good one right there. So the mid band is hit. Large triggers are full bar away. This is my termination. Small triggers and price break through the fib, and it snaps right back to the fib in 1-to-1s. Notice that there's momentum here, and guys, that's your look. That's that momentum look. It's the next trade. But you've got to be a little more in tune with your chart reading to be able to catch it. Does that make sense, Tom? And this is where I go back to, once again, keep it simple first. Catch the highest probability, and I promise you, all of these other opportunities are going to make themselves known. You're going to begin to see it over and over. Nope. Ollie, pink 1-to-1s. And remember we said earlier, you're like, man, they reversed the market on me. They don't do it enough to make their way into the termination conditions for the normal size charts. So Ollie, if you're a NASDAQ trader, you better respect those things with everything in your being on the large chart. And that's the exception, right? The NASDAQ is the exception. 1-to-1s on the NASDAQ, pink 1-to-1s on the NASDAQ, they're still small swing 1-to-1s, but guys, they're small swing 1-to-1s on a 34. That's 3 times larger than what it is on a small chart. So that's why on the NASDAQ, it changes the idea a little bit. Good question. Let me see where we're at. Man, we're almost through pictures, guys. I love it. I like the questions, too. Don't ever stop asking questions, please. Odds favorable, absolutely. Not quite to the 1-to-1s. No divergence, perfect entry, and money down to trouble. Ollie, I love this. It overran a little bit. 80, 86. Some people might have gotten hit on that one. Beautiful trade. Really nicely done. Joel, Crude oil, the S&P tend to flow really smooth, and they move at a pace that's easier for new users um, to recognize. One of the easiest ways to slow down any market is to start studying what it means to have your rules met. Start studying what it looks like to have your rules met. And what's cool is almost any market slows down. Like the NASDAQ is insane fast for 90% of Nexgen users. I can look at it and make decisions before it ever happens, guys. I'm so comfortable with the looks and my rules that the speed doesn't faze me. And that's just, it's having trust in your rules. It's having the ability to recognize what it takes. So as you develop in the beginning, crude oil and S&P is a great platform because it moves a little slower and it gives you a little more thinking time. But as you grow a little bit, you may want to explore other options. Exact same trade. Normally you would take a short with the big chart heading to potential termination conditions. I would all day long because they're targets until I hit them. You get in, overran, but since it was so close to the upper large, you placed your stop just above the fib. Pete was willing to put a little extra risk on, just like Ollie was, and they both got paid. Beautiful. Both of you guys. Making me proud. And guys, we made it through all the pictures. Let's do a live chart read. Let's see what our charts say. The smalls made it through, but the large didn't. Ollie, yeah, typically 12 ticks is perfect for crude oil ES. It's when you get outside of that you have to increase. So like on the NASDAQ, it's 24. But 24 ticks on the NASDAQ is the exact same money as 12 on crude and ES. And then Ollie, the 12 ticks aren't the stop, but rather give you some reaction time to put the stop where the market shouldn't go. That's one of the most important lessons. Putting your stop where the market shouldn't go. Sometimes it's 12. Sometimes it's not. And Pete, I disagree. Respectfully, I don't think 10 and 20 is bad at all. That's a $300 trade. That's 20% of your daily goal in one trade. I like it. So, Ollie, I will explain. So check this out. Boom, boom, boom. Whoops. Let me go to the user guide and let me just grab an entry picture real quick. And I'll use this one because it has the whole run. So when creating the window of opportunity, top of the triggers to the bottom of the triggers, right? Oh, I got you. You think that's too small, Pete? Okay. That's just the KISS plan. Oh, I see what you're saying, Pete. Two contracts, taking them both off at 10. I'm with you. It takes me a second. I'm a man. I don't communicate well. So, the first thing that you have to understand in stop placement, guys, and I think it pays dividends, is that price likes to return to the large triggers. And because price likes to turn to the large triggers, we identify the trigger lines first because basically this is saying this is where I expect price to come back to. Anywhere inside of these triggers. Does that make sense? That's going to be the first piece. Anywhere inside of these triggers, price could come back. It could go, you know, it could stop right here. It could go to here. It could go down to here. And I understand that this is my correction point. This is where I expect price to return to. But then we break that down a little bit and we say, but we expect it to bounce. When we have fibs, mid-bands, yellow 1-to-1s inside, this is my bounce point. This is where I expect the market to ricochet. And because of the momentum, we typically enter off the top, right? But because there's a second area, it could go there. There's a third area, it could go there. So these are kind of all the options for a potential bounce. That's why it's a window. But what we do know is that, and let's do a completely different color, and we'll make this one fat, is that if price pushes beyond those areas, if price pushes beyond those triggers, guys, my advantage is gone. If price pushes beyond the triggers, the areas, my edge is gone, right? My rule is no longer met. My advantage isn't in place. So the idea is that my first protective stop, I'll give it a little breathing room, guys, because the market it's going to do what it does. So my initial stop will go about 4 or 5 ticks beyond the window of opportunity, beyond those trigger lines, right where the market shouldn't go, at that point where my advantage is gone. So if I enter at 22, this particular stop, Ollie, is probably about 17 ticks. Once I get the reversal bar, it's only about 7 ticks. But initially, it's 17 to put it where the market shouldn't go. So if my ATM strategy has me getting in at 12 ticks, right? I have to move it to 17 to be where the market shouldn't go. And this goes the other direction too. If I enter in the mid band, let me see if I can find Pete's picture for this one, because this is a perfect example. If my entry point is right at the edge of those triggers, he's in at 16. He had an 8 tick stop. Does that make sense? So you reduced from the initial 12 down to 8. So that number, that 12, isn't the stop, but rather it gives you time to react and put it where the market shouldn't go. And Pete says 17 is just way too much. And when the risk is that large, he'll wait for a reversal bar, because that'll show him exactly where his new stop needs to go. But if you're trading the KISS plan, it just goes where the market shouldn't, guys. And all you're doing is you're learning to trust these looks a little bit. Does that make sense, Ollie? So 12 is just a number. Cool. Great question. Guys, I don't think you all realize how much when you ask questions in this room, you make it better for everybody. Because I say the same thing. And if you ask a question, you force me to say it differently in a very nice way. Which means that different verbiage may be all it takes for someone else to get that lesson. So I really do. I appreciate you guys that are willing to ask questions, that don't assume that you should already know that, because why should you? My gosh, you're new. So I want to go through this one, guys. This is a 50-50 trade. Why is it a 50-50 trade? Because my small triggers have cleared the area. Oop, that's too wide. But my large triggers have not. 50-50. So Tom, this will be your second trade. Z-Robot, this will be your second trade. Joel, this will be your second trade, Joel France. And a 50-50 means that with the odds favorable momentum, with those strong triggers, this fib has the potential to break. It's not broken. It's not. It's not broken. Rule 2 is not met. And guys, this is why knowing what kind of trade you're getting into pays dividends. So I'm going to do this. I do this every day. These are the rules for the high probability trend trade, guys. And if we're talking to ourselves in terms of advantages, you could print this out and you could take 3 pieces of paper. And every time you look at your charts, you would say to yourself, do I have momentum? And if the answer is yes, then leave it open. You have that advantage. And you have to ask yourself, do I have a clear path? If it's a 50-50 trade, you do not have a clear path, which means that 33% of your advantages are already gone. 33% of the things that make your trades great has flown out the window. So what does this do? So on this 50-50 trade, it keeps me focused on momentum. It keeps me focused on an entry area, because the reality is, guys, let's be honest. If 66% of my rules are not met, do I want to risk my money? And only you can answer that. But for me personally, the second I cover up something else, I want nothing to do with it. That's it. I just don't even want it if I'm looking for a trend trade. So what the 50-50 does for you, once you can identify that look, you say to yourself, the path is not clear. Is everybody cool with that? The path is not clear. So I'm going to rely on momentum. I'm going to look for that great entry area. Divergence is a loss of momentum. We talk about that in the very beginning of class. Divergence equals loss of momentum. So I'm starting to go outside of only having a third of my rules not met. Now I'm seeing, show me a picture, Belt. And if it's an unclear path, then you need to study termination conditions. It's really that simple. Are the small and large above the area? So, all right. I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to finish what I was talking about, and then we're going to come back to that. Guys, on the 50-50 trade, since the path isn't clear, sacrificing momentum creates challenges. Not having areas inside of triggers creates challenges. So you're going to use those advantages, the idea of advantages, to decide whether or not you want to take that trade. And for me, 2 divergences on a 50-50 says, hell no, not a chance. Not going to do it. And that's what the KISS plan does for you, is it keeps you focused on that. All right. Belt. The large chart will define the direction of the market. The large chart will define the momentum of the market. And the large chart will define termination conditions. The large chart does all of that. The small chart's an entry chart. And there's only one termination condition on a small chart, and that's 3 divergences when the rules are met on the large chart. So when we look at your picture, you have a clear path. But what don't you have? You don't have momentum. So you have to make a decision. If you entered at the fib, you ran headfirst into trouble. And guys, the NASDAQ is different. And in the very beginning, it's very simple. It's very simple. And you tried to be first. Do you see this? You tried to be first, and it struggled. But once everything agreed, holy shit, Belt, it all worked out. But down here, it just wasn't time yet. The large were down, the small were down, the trend was down. But if you just wait for everything to agree, the money's pretty easy. And at 94, and it was all the way up here, and the NASDAQ will destroy you if it's not perfect, guys. The NASDAQ will overrun areas. If you ever fight the small triggers on the NASDAQ, it's going to ruin your day. So, Belt, I know that you're working your way over to it. I would start going through this yellow section on the spreadsheet because I blew out about 15 accounts learning how to trade the NASDAQ, and there's nuance to the NASDAQ. Odds favorable is so important. Clear path is so important. And the entry rules are different. The entry rules are just a little bit different on the NASDAQ because this is a 34, not a 13. And this is a 13, not a 5-1. Huge difference in the time frame, which means that these triggers are way more aggressive in the grand scheme of things than they are on just a 5-1, trading a smaller, slower, mellower market. Sure. There's two things I look for. Hold on, where's it at? There's two things that I look for on the NASDAQ, guys. The first thing is that the rules are met on the large chart. Can't stress that enough. The rules are met on the large chart. And Cheetah, this is on the spreadsheet. When I reach the area for entry, so I have to know my momentum, I have to know my termination conditions, I have to understand what the entry looks like, guys, and I got to be able to do it fast because I've got about 3 seconds on these pullbacks sometimes. When I reach the area inside of triggers, if these small triggers, Cheetah, are below the reversal bar marker, if they are less than a full bar away, I insist on a close on the correct side of the small triggers. If I get to my area inside of favorable large triggers and the small triggers are above the reversal bar marker, Cheetah, I'm willing to get in at the area because these triggers, because it's a higher time frame, can act as support and resistance. That's it. That's the only real nuance on the NASDAQ. If the large chart is met, you just have to be a little patient. That's it. Let me drop that in the room for you, but it is in the spreadsheet. Three divergences, not really in the same price range. Belt. So one of the things, Belt, is I'll use the exact same idea for broken areas that I will for divergences. So once the small and the large get above that divergence line, I'll consider it broken. Red line showed up, 91.45. Is that the one you're talking about? It didn't reach it though, did it? And it didn't just show up. It's been there for hours. It's been there for hours. We knew about it. They didn't reach it yet. Yeah, because it was off in the distance. Sometimes I'll squish my chart just to take a look to see where stuff is. So we've got two divergences. There's no rules met right now. But we're not at a term yet. Not yet. We're a strong trending market to the upside. And because we don't have strength, because the momentum is dying, we don't know whether or not it's going up. And notice how, and then Cheetah, are you with me? Small triggers act as resistance. Small triggers act as resistance. Waiting for a close on the correct side is going to create an advantage. Good stuff, Belt. Yeah, I'll squish every now and then just to take a look. I like to know what's off in the distance. All right, Morgan, this is for you. Buy and sell stop orders. And I just dropped this in the room as well. So sometimes in your trading, you're going to wait for a confirmation bar, right? If you're trading the NASDAQ and you're waiting for a close on the correct side of the small triggers, you're waiting for a confirmation bar. And timing it, guys, can be a daunting task. Using that buy or sell stop orders, it's going to let you have an order waiting right at the reversal bar marker. So all you're going to do is you're going to click on your chart. So let me see if I can make this a little bigger. So if my rules say Morgan, that it's going to take a reversal bar to get me into this trade. It's going to take that confirmation. Whoops. Should have been 250. There we go. And that's what I use. Just stop market. Hell, I don't know. Let's look. Man, I got a lot of stuff open. So if I need a reversal bar to go short, which of course is ridiculous, I'm going to right click and I'm going to put a sell stop. I don't know what a sell stop limit is. I think market says at that price. Limit is the best price they can give you. I don't really know, Morgan. I'm not going to lie. This one makes you put in a number. I use sell stops. I use buy stops. I don't know. And people ask me all the time, like, Mark, what's this? Mark, what's that? And guys, I feel like an absolute yahoo when I have to tell you that I don't know what buy ask does, and I don't know what sell ask does, and I don't know what buy bid does, and I don't know what sell bid does, because the reality is I don't need them. I don't need them. I don't need any of those. The only thing that I ever use is maybe I'll use buy market and sell market on occasion. I won't use reverse because I know which direction I should be going. Those are the only buttons that I'll use on NinjaTrader. That's it. There you go. Gary's got your definition for you. And sell ask will get you in short if the price goes up one tick from market. That's cool. I don't need it. I don't use it. I've never used it. I don't even know how to use it, right? Dude, I'm telling you guys, I'm a lot of fun at a party, but I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. And simplicity, basics. I try not to get distracted. I try not to get distracted by things that I don't need. I try not to create more rules when I don't need them. I try not to create worst case scenarios in my head that fall outside of the rules. I try to keep it really basic, guys. And my rules say that price might correct there, and price might correct here. And if I look at the only spot where I've got areas, my only spot with areas is right there. And my stop, if I decide to take this 50-50 trade, would have to go right there. Right? So all I have is rules. And I have to ask myself, well, this one's a tick above the correction point. My stop would be exactly the same. Am I willing to enter here? Somebody showed a great picture of this earlier. I think it was Morgan, right? My stop has to go in the same place no matter what. Am I going to trip over a penny to save a couple bucks? Probably not. So it all comes down to the very basics. This is out of the equation. There's not even a line in it. So those 1-to-1s are a tick above my trigger lines. That would be it. That would probably be my entry. And then I'd have to manage it. So if I were in at 77, guys, I already made $100. I'm already break even with the KISS plan. So what do you guys want to talk about? We have a few minutes. Great class, great questions today. Joel France, Tom, I promise it gets easier. Z-Robot, it gets easier. You hear the same language for 2 or 3 days in a row and it really starts to click. You hear me say the exact same thing a couple days in a row and it works out. Tom, my entry, this is where I would have been forced to make a decision. If I'm 2 or 3 ticks above 54, I'm in at 57. If I say to myself, I don't want to mess around and hope that it goes to this line instead of this line, I might have been in at 57, 58 because my stop is where my stop needs to be no matter what. My stop is exactly where the stop needs to be no matter what. Have you looked at the instructions, Spice? I just want to make sure. If we go to the software guide, I think it's in there as well. I know what you're talking about, Cheetah. Go to tech. I have no idea. What's it going to do for you? What do you need? What do you need that for? Why would you even need that? Let me find my market replay real quick. Maybe it's not in this one. Maybe it's in this one. There we go. Market replay. Nope, I got you, Spice. We're going to do it. I just wanted to make sure that you knew where they were. I wanted to get the link. Cheetah, go to your indicators. Okay, but what's it going to do for you? How does it fit into your rules? Go to Pro Trader Synthetic. Scroll down to Reversal Marker 2 and show reversals. So let me give you the picture. How does it fit into your plan? That's what you have to ask yourself, guys. If you're going to add indicators, ask yourself, how does this indicator fit into my plan? What is the advantage that this indicator gives me? Because honestly, I don't believe there is one, but I could be wrong, so I might need you to teach me something. I think it's just more stuff to look at. More opinions to have. That's just me, though. All right, so we're going to do this real quick. Guys, this is for everybody. Let me pull this over here. And guys, I'm going to close my workspaces. So if you're wondering about market replay, guys, we're going to go through the whole shebang right now. I'm going to go through everything that you need to do to have market replay. And I'm also going to put the instructions in here because Spice, what really worked for me is I watched the video and I had it up on a different monitor and I would pause and do, pause and do, pause and do. And that helped me a lot to get it done. But let's go through it. So one thing right now, guys, is you've got to disconnect. So you're completely disconnected. There's no live data. There's no charts up, nothing. Go to connections and go to playback. And when you do, it's going to ask you to pick some stuff. So the first thing I'll do, what market do you guys want to replay? Crude oil, S&P. It looks like I've got a gold market here. So pick whatever market you want to do. We'll just do crude oil. And then pick your date. It'll let you pick whatever day you want to replay. So I want to replay yesterday because I want to go back and fix my mistakes. I want to go back and hold a little longer than I did. So I'm going to click download. And it's going to load up that data. And it won't take long at all. It's done. I hit continue. And it gives me the little Sony playback here. And come on. It's not coming up. I'm going to do it again real quick. I'm going to try it on a different market. For whatever reason, that one didn't work. Maybe I did it in the future. So let me download real quick. I'm going to hit continue. There we go. So one of the things that you're going to want to do, Spice and everybody, is make sure that your dates line up. And that's going to have you practicing one day. That's it. One of the tricks that I'll do, and not everybody does this, guys, I don't trade at midnight. There's no volume. I'll pull it up to about when I wake up, 5:22 a.m. And that way when my charts load up, it's 5:22 a.m. It's like I just woke up, had a cup of coffee. So once I have this in place, guys, the dates line up, I've got it where I want it to start, I'm just going to open my crude oil futures. And it's going to load up to that day, and it's going to go back, and you're going to be able to do this exactly the way the market traded. Whoops, look at that. I'm going to have to reload historical to fix those. So now I have two charts, right? And this is the 12th at 5 a.m. This isn't even today, or this is yesterday at 5 a.m. I know, right? So here's the thing, guys. Let me give you my 2 cents on market replay. There's so many things you can do with it. Once you hit play, it's like the market's live. You can adjust the speed. So I can go max, right? And boom, boom, boom. But that's ridiculous. There's nothing to learn like that, guys. So avoid the temptation of going at 100 times speed because you're going to miss stuff. I'll typically go at about 10 times speed. And I'm watching my large chart. That's it. And I'm waiting for momentum and I'm waiting for a clear path. And then this is what I'll do, guys. If I go, oh my gosh, here comes a trade. And you're like, Mark doesn't really do this. Mark totally does this. Mark opens up his KISS plan. He grabs that checklist. And instead of just jumping into the trade and hoping I've got it right, I stop, I pause, and I make sure that my rules are met, guys. I make sure that I'm actually following my plan. Because one of the cool things about market replay is that if you pause and make sure that the rules are met, and it gives you time, right? Like, let's see what happens. And let's just say hypothetically, I'm in the market, and it's like it's live, right? Oh no, my stop has to go to the other side of the triggers. That's important, right? And my first target has to go here, and my second target has to go up here. And then I can pause it again. And I can go, okay, is my stop where the market shouldn't go? Yeah, it is. Is my first target at 100? Okay, I'm good. Let's go again. And you can literally pause it. And then you can say, all right, let's give it a couple and see what happens. And it's either going to hit it or it's not, right? It's either going to make it or it doesn't. And then you can pause it again and you can say, wow, did I miss something? Oh no, 3 divergences. So market replay isn't about proving how smart you are and how you can make $1 million simulated dollars. Market replay is about going in and seeing the potential of the market. Market replay is about going back and fixing your mistakes. And market replay is such a valuable tool because the one thing that I tell you guys in the morning is that I can't give you repetition. I can't give you experience. But if you go back every day and you retrade the day, if you go back every day, where's it at? Dun, 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 market replay. You guys may recognize this picture. If you go back every day and replay the day and you fix your mistakes and you take the trades that you skipped and you skip the trades that you took and you adhere to your management plans and you take pictures and you bring those to class, guys, you're going to double your repetitions. You can get 3 months worth of experience in a month and a half. So I love market replay, and I can tell you right now, I have spent countless hours on market replay. And then when you're done, all you have to do, well, I have to close out the position. All you have to do is just shut it down, close the workspace, save it, and then disconnect. And then when it's time to trade again, reconnect and get ready. Does that help, Spice? But for me, it was pretty easy if I followed on the video. It helped me a lot. Hey, take care, Morgan. It helped me a lot to have it on 2 different monitors, and I would pause it, and then I would after I paused it, I would do whatever step it said, and then I'd run the video again, and I just kept doing that, and it took 2 or 3 times for me to really feel comfortable with it. Everything says up. Odds favorable, 50-50, no divergence. It was floating in between the 2, right? And Ollie, I love this. Guys, this is where a Understanding patterns pays dividends. Ollie said, son of a gun, they didn't get me. And he says, it's going. Look at this. And he knows where his stop goes. And you managed to get paid. Nicely done, Ollie. The least amount of risk is down here, right? But you still had it all pretty well defined. Nice job. And it never fails. Anytime I jump in thinking that I missed it, they always come right back to where my entry should have been. It's like they have cameras on me. And then Paul, odds favorable, potential to break, no divergence, strong triggers, perfect entry. Paul, that's a heck of a first trade today. Or first post anyway. Beautiful. What a beautiful trade. And you simulated it, Tom? Day 3, you starting to see it? I'm telling you, it's all coming together, man. It's all going to come together. Avoid the temptation to make it more complicated than it needs to be. Avoid the temptation to add rules. Avoid the temptation to talk yourself out of perfect trades. Because we all do it. And it's a byproduct of becoming a better chart reader. The more you can read your indicators, guys, the more opinions you're gonna form. Your chart read should tell you that your rules are met. Paul, freaking amazing. What a great trade. And guys, this is what we call a strong trending market. When the small triggers are riding piggyback and you see that dashed line, this is a strong trending market. This is a market that says everything is cranking, and there's a thought process that says just keep buying the mid band until it doesn't work. And then Pete, same trade. I like this. Guys, this is waiting for confirmation. Since the mid band was so far beneath, waited for a reversal bar, took it with a market order. Beautiful. That's the ES, absolutely. Great trade, Pete. There's that confirmation. Remember, when it's not quite right, it's all right to force the market to tell you it's going the right direction. Beauty. Nice trade. And some people say, well, I had a confirmation bar. Why did I lose? Guys, a confirmation bar doesn't guarantee a win. It's just you saying, market, you have to go with the large chart before I'm willing to risk money. Great job, everybody. What a good day. How do you guys feel about it? Did you learn anything?